just as many people online as in the room. So I am Holly Williams, County Commissioner, and I'm the chairman. We will go around the tables for introductions. So we'll go to Mayor Case.
Good morning, Mayor Case, City of Woodland Park.
Andy Gunning, PPACG, Executive Director.
Dennis Stern, Mayor Palmer Lake.
John Graham, Mayor, City of Manitou Springs.
Todd Dixon, Mayor, Green Mountain Falls.
Sharon Thompson, Mayor, City of Fountain.
Jeff Bond, representing the commanders at Peterson, Schriever, and Cheyenne Mountain.
Cheryl Richards, Office Manager for PPACG.
Okay, and then I will state we have, let's go online. We've got Commissioner Amy Mitchell. We have City Councilwoman Brandy Williams. We have Kimberly Gold, City Councilwoman, who is representing Dave Donaldson. We have Mayor Mitch LeKind. And we have City Councilman Roland Rainey. And then we have a couple representatives from Fort Carson. And in the audience, just so those online know, we have Sally Clark, who is the State Director for Rural Development, Colorado, and Clerk and Recorder Steve Schleicher. So those are all of the ones that I wanted to introduce right now. And so we will go on. Oh, and we have Commissioner Eric Stone online as well. So it's like I say, we have, I think, more people online today than in the room. So that's a lot of fun. Okay. All right. So we will take a motion if everybody's reviewed the agenda to approve the agenda.
Mayor Dixon, I'll move we approve the agenda.
John Graham will second.
Okay. Are there any, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. We're going to have public comments. Public comments can be made before or during the meeting. During the meeting, it is limited to 3 minutes and can be done at the meeting location or remotely by using the posted Microsoft Teams link. Individuals are encouraged to notify the meeting organizer at PPACG at ppacg.org before the start of the meeting with the agenda item they would like to comment on. Public comments can be submitted before the meeting via email for distribution to the committee members. Jared, I think do we have some public comments?
Madam Chair, we were not advanced on any public comment requests. I'll ask anyone who is online to please use the raise hand function to let us know they'd like to provide public comment.
Okay, I do not see any hands raised online, and we have Jody Barker. Laura Cronick has just joined. She's from Monument, and Commissioner Applegate has joined as well as Jeff Mosier from Cripple Creek. Okay, Jody, with the Area Agency on Aging, we have some new employees.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. Board of Directors, we do have some new Area Agency on Aging staff members I'd like to introduce. We have, if you'll just stand behind me so that the board can see you. We have Chris Leroy. He was with us as an AmeriCorps Vista volunteer and applied for and has been accepted into our case management area of work. And so excited to have him continue with us. And then we also have Katie Ostini, who has worked with DHS, has some wonderful background in that area, also coming in to work with us as our ship coordinator and case manager. And caught up in traffic this morning, unfortunately, is another case manager who's come with us, who is Tion Horsey. And so if he zooms through, we'll point him out. But otherwise, we have these three new just in time for open enrollment coming up in October. So they're going to be scooting out here in just a minute because they have some online training to get to today. So thank you very much.
Thank you and congratulations. We look forward to having you. Okay, is Chuck Berman here? Okay, I know that there is now a property tax payment program. If you're interested in that, you can go online to El Paso County CO, elpasoco.com, and those are done in monthly payments or quarterly payments to pay your property taxes. Sally Clark, the State Director for USDA. Come on up.
Is it on now? There we go. Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the PPACG board and distinguished guests in the audience. It's great to be before you today. I'm Sally Clark. Those of you who don't know, I was a longtime county commissioner and was a city council member, and most recently worked for the city of Colorado Springs. But today I'm in my new capacity. I'm a presidential appointee by President Trump, and I served previously in 2017 to 2021, and now I'm back serving USDA rural development. What I'd like to talk to you about today is about our programs and how you can avail yourselves and your constituents can of some really important things that we do for rural America. There are 47 state directors across the United States, so I'm one of 47. I serve specifically the state of Colorado, and our main office is in Denver, Colorado, at the Denver Federal Center. USDA does many different things. And you might think, what does this have to do with us? But essentially, we have 8 mission areas. I'm not going to talk about all those 8 mission areas, but they include farm and production, food and nutrition, food safety, marketing, and regulatory programs, as well as natural resources. You might be a little familiar with the U.S. Forest Service, some of you in particular. And then secondly, research, education, and economics, and then rural development, and then trade and foreign and ag affairs. So under that, rural development is its own agency under USDA. So we're under that big umbrella. What does that mean for you? So let me talk a little bit about what we do at Rural Development. So in essence, we do 3 things. And if you were to think about something very simple, we know sometimes we can only remember 3 things. There are over 70 programs, and I don't have 70 slides. So just to let you know, I know you'd appreciate that. I have 2. So this is the one where I'll start. So really, A is for affordable housing. And what does that mean? So essentially, our housing programs give families and individuals the opportunity to buy, to build, and repair safe and affordable homes in rural America. So let me tell you a quick story about Alexandria and her 4 children. They moved to Cripple Creek, and the family fell prey to a housing rental scam, and they lost their home. So with no other options, they purchased an old school bus to serve as a home. She converted the bus on her own, ripped out seats, built beds, installed a small kitchen with a small toaster oven and refrigerator, and fitted a camping-style, portable restroom near the rear of the bus. She permanently parked the vehicle at a local campground that had shower facilities, and the family called it home for the next few years. But while juggling work, family, and other responsibilities, she worked with a community caring at the Aspen Mine Center, a local nonprofit that provides a one-stop resource shop for Teller County residents. And with their help, 4 years later, she applied and was approved for a USDA single-family housing loan. She purchased a 2-bedroom, 1-bath dream home with plenty of outdoor space for her children. Midnight the dog and Shadow the cat to play. There was even space on the side of the house to park the school bus, which she turned into a playhouse for the kids. But not everybody wants to be a homeowner, so we also provide affordable multifamily rental housing in rural areas by financing projects geared for low-income, elderly, and disabled individuals and families, as well as farm labor workers. We have 3 complexes located in this area, one in Cripple Creek, one in Fountain, and one in Monument. B is for building economic prosperity. We have programs that provide financial backing and technical assistance to stimulate business creation and growth. And these programs support the creation and the preservation of quality jobs in rural areas. They encourage small business growth and give rural manufacturers and farmers broader market access. Our business and industry guaranteed loan programs target improving the economic health of rural communities by increasing access to business capital through loan guarantees. It enables commercial lenders to provide affordable financing to businesses. In Salida, we funded building construction for Fading West. Some of you might be familiar with this, a modular housing solutions business. We also have helped with employee purchase of existing Shoe Grease business in Bennett, allowing for the business to expand, increase sales, and preserve existing jobs. Currently, we have funding available for the business and industry, or we call it B&I program. If you are or know of a lender that has a project ready to fund, send them our way. We can assist the lender with up to an 80% guarantee on their loan. We also provide support for reliable electricity and affordable high-speed internet access, which are essential, as you know, to sustaining economic well-being and quality of life for rural residents. And finally, C is for community infrastructure. Obviously, something very relevant to this group today. Our community facilities program offers financing to develop and improve essential public services and facilities across rural America. These programs support Main Street USA across the nation. They're the bricks and mortar which attract and retain businesses that provide employment and services for residents. And whether it's constructing additional bays for a fire station, or to store trucks and ambulances, building a new healthcare clinic, or increasing access to childcare through a new facility, our community facilities programs make the difference. I also recognize what a vital resource water is, especially in the West. Our water and environmental programs, known as WEP, provides funding for rural communities to obtain technical assistance and financing to develop drinking water and wastewater systems. How many of you have had to deal with this on a regular basis? And I know I've heard that same question here in PPACG meetings in the past. It's really important, and we can provide that assistance. So for modernizing a water treatment facility to allow for increased capacity, treating high nitrate and radium levels in drinking water, and helping with discharge levels of untreated wastewater to ensure reliable wastewater treatment for end users, we can do that. Good practices for water and wastewater systems can save tax dollars, improve the environment, and help manufacturers and businesses locate or expand. So I want to close with an ask for you today. First, utilize our funding opportunities for both you and your communities as applicants, and get in on the ground level of projects, because you can't start a project and then come in later and ask for money. It has to be done on the start. Second, help us make connections in your counties and your communities with your community organizations, individuals that could utilize our programs that you interface with every single day. How many people's biggest question they ask is, housing is one of the biggest things that they're looking for. We can help them with that. And then get the word out, because when rural America prospers, America prospers. Now, a couple things I wanted to note is online today, I have 3 individuals who are with specific programs, and my public information officer, Tennille Bedos, is in Alamosa office, and she's head of our housing programs. We have Paul, who is representing the business programs online, and Irene Etzedy, who is our acting community programs director at this time, and then Amy Mund, who's my public information officer. So what I would say to you, we're happy to come to you as well. If you'd like to schedule a meeting where you'd like me and my staff to come and give an individual presentation, we're happy to do that. If you have those on your staff that are struggling with certain kinds of improvements that you need to make, have them come to us. And we do interface a little bit with the congressionals on the congressionally directed spending. So that is another place where we kind of insert ourselves to help with eligibility, and specifically on infrastructure improvements. So I wanted to just present just a couple of numbers, and I'm going to leave this with Andy as well, is that in El Paso, Park, and Teller County, from 2019 to 2025, we obligated $52 million. As a comparison, not to embarrass you, but Chaffee and Fremont County were $107 million. Fremont is doing a lot of business programs. They are really expanding and doing a lot of things with technology, with manufacturing, and we've been part of that. But we would very much like you to be a part of that too. So again, the only question I won't answer is if you don't ask me. So I would see if you have any questions. As I said, I have my staff online, and they're also open to answering any specific questions. I know one of the questions that's going to come up is, what is rural? Well, it depends on our programs. So there are different parameters that we have to operate under for different programs. Some are based on census tracts, some are based on area median income. There's many different, out of our 70 plus programs. Thankfully, I didn't bring 70 slides today for you, but in looking at that, ask us first and we'll be able to tell you what qualifies and what doesn't. So I'm going to end there and see if you have any questions, Madam Chair.
Yes, there are questions, Mayor Dixon.
Yeah, what, under community infrastructure, do you have examples of things that would not be included?
In terms of community infrastructure, we don't do roads.
Don't do roads. Okay,
yeah,
so that's
we leave the roads up to others.
Okay.
But buildings, I've seen a veteran center over near Montrose built. That's a nonprofit. We've done a lot of hospital expansions and hospital upgrades. Again, we've worked a lot on fire stations, police equipment, things that are needed for, might be the sheriff's office, might be, some other community need that you're thinking would help. We can renovate a courthouse. There are a lot of different options that are part of our portfolio. If USDA was a bank, we'd be about the 6th largest in the country.
Would that include wastewater?
Yes.
You mentioned, I thought I heard wastewater in the
It would,
presentation.
water and I'm not speaking out of turn when I say under the Trump administration, water and environmental programs, our WEP program is a priority to have clean drinking water for communities. So that is definitely something that we can work with. And we can work with even small water districts, sometimes even homeowners associations, as well as whether that's municipal or county governments.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Mayor, Council
Don't
member.
call me mayor. I'll be in big trouble. So Jeff
Council.
Mosier, Special Projects Director with the City of Cripple Creek
Got it.
Valley. Good to see you.
Nice
Thanks
to
for the
see you.
presentation. I appreciate you highlighting the family up in Cripple Creek. It is one of our stories we like to tell, and we've got a couple of others similar. But my big question, Community of Caring is a processing center for USDA. What's the update on the loan process, the USDA housing for loans right now?
Right now we're still we can take applications now.
Still the same?
Yeah. So, you just need to, Tennille is online. I don't know if she's probably on mute. Did you want to mention anything, Tennille?
Yes, good morning. This is Tennille Barrows. We are accepting applications. So we have an application window that's open year round. As far as funding, it is extremely limited. We do have very low funding at the national level and a small amount of low funding at the national level. Everything that comes in through our state is required to request funding at the national level. We did not have a state allocation as of last Friday. So we are accepting applications, but know that funding is extremely limited. Applicants are being advised of up to 180-day wait period at this time.
I appreciate that update. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there any questions online? If you cannot raise your hand, just speak out. Okay,
Okay.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that very much. We have your phone number. We have all of the contact information that can come out with our packet, and we enjoyed the presentation. Thank
And
you.
we'll have Jared get this out.
Yes.
To the group. So if you have, and you can use the QR code to get directly to our USDA rural development site. And I am also located in the office with the Natural Resources Conservation Service and the Farm Service Agency. So also, if you want connections to any of the other USDA, feel free to reach out to me. I can always forward those on. So appreciate all the work you're doing. And just again, we just need to know what you need, and then we can see if there's a program that fits within. We serve rural Colorado and the rural US, and we are happy to have you take advantage of those programs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Nice to see everybody.
It's good to see everybody. Okay, Jeff, as the person here in the room, we're going to let you go first with our military installation report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to all. I'll be brief. Peterson and Schriever hosted on August 7th an event called Forge the Force. This event was targeted toward our service members for resiliency and connection. Notably to the community, we had 50 plus helping agencies that attended, which offered their information and services to our service members. Most of them were from the community, and I want to thank those who generated the interest and helped get those agencies onto our installation. It was arguably the best resiliency event I've seen in my time at our Air Force installations. Today, 10 a.m., State of the Bases address for Peterson, Schriever, and Cheyenne Mountain will be at Peterson. I will be departing a little early, but and unfortunately, I'm sorry that it was not deconflicted with this meeting for you all to be able to attend. Other than that, that's all I have, subject to any questions.
Okay, are there any questions for Peterson, Schriever, and NORAD? All right, thank you, and please enjoy the state of the base for us and send our regards. Okay, we have two from Fort Carson, David Tukmanian and Chris, Chris DeGreen. I can't read your name, Chris. So who wants to go first? Let's have David go first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'll brief for Fort Carson. Chris DeGarry is probably going to have to drop off here pretty soon. So good morning, everyone. I just have a few quick notes, a few quick updates. So first, as always, the world keeps turning. And so there's a high operational tempo, and there's lots of global missions, and 4ID and our tenants, you're going to continue to see them come and go, especially over the next few months. We have a lot going on, both regionally and globally. Next, I think I briefed last time, we have a new commanding general, Major General Ellis, and we're working hard now on a system called Next Generation Command and Control, or Next Gen C2 for short. And this is a system that hopefully will revolutionize the way we control our organizations on the battlefield. And so we're looking at fielding that here in the next several months and years. We have lots of visits coming up from our congressional and Senate representatives over the next couple weeks and months. And then in September, we're looking at hosting Mr. Dave Lineberger, who's the Chief of Army Partnerships. So we're looking forward to that. Hey, so, we here at Carson, and I think I could probably say the same for our Air Force and Space Force partners, we lost several employees due to the deferred resignation program, better known as the fork in the road. And so we're working hard now to make sure that we can, because we are still under a hiring freeze. So how do we still continue to do the things that we expect to do when we've taken that roughly 10% cut in personnel. And so we're working hard to reshape and reorganize. One fantastic thing about this is it does not affect our NAF funds or our non-appropriated funds, which means that the hiring freeze doesn't affect our child youth services. And so just recently, in the last couple of weeks, we've offered positions to over 100 folks, which is very significant for us. It will enable us to offer slots in our daycare centers to lots of children, to the extent that one of our CDCs that is currently closed, we're looking at reopening it. And so that's fantastic news for us. And then finally, a lot of you in the room there and online attended last year's Front Range Partnership and Strategy Summit held at the Olympic Training Center. We're going to do that again, different venue, which we're still trying to narrow down, but the date's November 7th, and we'll send out invitations for that probably towards the end of August, beginning of September. So that's all I have from Carson, pending any questions, Madam Chair.
Are there any questions? Go ahead, Mayor Thompson.
Thank you. This is Mayor Thompson, City of Fountain.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi. I wanted to let you know, I'm super happy you did your own childcare, but I have talked to several childcare providers within the City of Fountain and the Fountain Valley area that have openings. So if you have people that are needing childcare, we do have some in the area that have immediate openings.
Mayor Thompson, thank you so much. You know, obviously you know this, but a large percentage of our population lives in the City of Fountain, so that's very helpful. And I'll make sure the right people know.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional questions? All right, go Fort Carson, and thank you very much. We appreciate the report. Do we have anyone from the Air Force Academy?
Madam Chair, we do. Colonel David Herndon, Deputy Commander, is online.
Awesome. Go ahead, Colonel.
Madam Chair, Colonel Dave Herndon here. Thanks so much for allowing us the opportunity to provide some updates from the Academy. As you may be aware, we have an all-new command team here in charge of the installation. So Colonel A.B. Brown is the new wing commander, and our new command chief is Chief Master Sergeant Eddie Herrera. So we're about a month in the seat, and we look forward to continuing the partnership set by our predecessors. Just some items of interest, as you all may be aware, cadets returned to USAFA last week, and D20 schools are in full swing. So you may notice some increased kind of traffic at our gates. I know we've been working closely with our D20 partners on educating the community on how to gain access to the installation and some of the new requirements that are a little bit different this year compared to last. We are also very excited. Next week, we're going to have the Natural Disaster TTX tabletop exercise, where I know we're going to have several mission partners from around the community as we look at emergency management and natural disaster response and just mutual aid agreements as we step through a fire and flood scenario. So I know our team, Miss Amy Kelly, has been working aggressively to ensure everyone is up to speed on the sequence of events. And I know Colonel Brown is very excited to host everyone. In terms of major events on the yard that we continue to plan forward, we expect more than 2,000 folks in attendance at our annual Fan Fest event over at Falcon Stadium on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So encourage everyone to come out. It will be an opportunity to interact with the football team ahead of the big football season. And I know we're going to have several other teams in attendance and opportunities to walk on the field and interact with the entire athletic department. And then lastly, kind of pulling the thread on what Fort Carson mentioned with some of the child and youth programs and some of the progress we're seeing on that front. We also as well have a hiring event and hiring fair that will take place on the 15th of August from 11:30 to 13:30 at Pikes Peak Library. on Chapel Hills Drive in Colorado Springs. Miss Jill Stevens from our Force Support Squadron and marketing team kind of arranged some promotional activities, including some radio advertisements through the Columbus Radio Group that will run this week leading up to the hiring event and job fair. So really excited, and we will continue to kind of push this information out for everyone's consumption as we too are excited to onboard individuals to care for our families. Madam Chair, I don't have anything else pending any questions from your end. We're excited to partner with you.
Are there any questions? Looks like the Falcons have a tough football schedule this year, so let's get out there and support them. Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate it. All right, our next item on the agenda is the consent items. And so if everybody's had a chance to look over those, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Mayor Thompson, move to approve.
Mayor Dixon, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Thank you. Those are approved unanimously. Okay, number 5, our action items, the revised CDOT 10-year plan. Danelle Miller.
Good morning. Thank you all for having me today. I will be turning this very shortly over to Shane Ferguson from CDOT Region 2, but I did just want to give a quick update regarding these changes to the CDOT 10-year plan. We did hold a special TAC meeting and a special CAC meeting last week. Those committees both approved or recommended approval unanimously of these changes. I'm again happy to answer any questions you might have for staff, but I'll leave the details of the changes to Shane Ferguson from CDOT.
All right, thank you very much. First off, just appreciate being able to come in front of you again and present this draft or this plan. The draft plan that was presented last month did go in front of Director Liu and the Executive Oversight Committee. Some comments were made as far as some adjustments to one of the projects where Director Liu and the Executive Oversight would like to see the I-25 component broken out into more of 3 pieces. And so that's one of the major revisions that is identified. And then based off of comments from the Board of Directors meetings last month, we circled back to work with the locals and try to identify what might be adjusted and to move forward with. The biggest adjustment comes into the second part of the 10-year plan, where we are adding a interchange design project for Colorado 21 Powers Boulevard at Stetson Hills for some preliminary design. Our fiscal constraint needed to stay the same, and so we did reduce one of our surface treatment projects from $6 million to $4 million. That was the Colorado 105 surface treatment project. The reason we chose that project was of the surface treatment projects identified on our list that was on the lower priority end of it. We do believe that we will be able to supplement that project with surface treatment funds to make that project whole when it comes about. So we do not believe that project's in danger of losing its scope. Again, just really appreciate just the collaboration with our local partners, the TAC, the CAC, the community members, the board, and be able to move forward with this current plan. And at this time, I'll entertain any questions you guys may have.
Okay, what kind of questions do we have? Oh, look at that. Everybody's okay with it. Okay, go ahead, Mayor Dixon.
I was thinking that one of the biggest issues at our last meeting with the plan was with the capacity increases.
Yeah.
Is there anything in this revision that?
Yeah, it's as far as construction funding for actual construction, no, we don't have any additional dollars for construction funding. That is correct. But in moving forward with trying to get some projects on our backlog shelf to be ready and to maneuver towards construction funding, whether it's grant or additional funding coming from the state in the future. We added an interchange project. That's really where we can make the only adjustments. The current first 4 years of the plan, we were pretty well stuck with a good portion of that actually is for a congestion relieving project on 24, adding capacity at $51 million that we plan to go to advertisement with next year. But the second half of the plan is really where we made our adjustments.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions?
Thank you for renaming Fountain to be the park and ride that it is, so we don't have that
That was
issue coming up. Thank you very
Forgot
much.
about adding that comment. Yeah, you're welcome.
Any questions online? I don't know what you did, Shane. Look at this today. All right. With that, I guess we'll entertain a motion to approve the revised CDOT 10-year plan.
Move to approve Eric Stone, Teller County.
Second, Mayor Case.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. We always want more money into roads, but right now the legislature has deemed that not to be the priority. So we'll have to work on them a little bit harder. So thank you very much, Shane and John, and also thanks to CDOT staff for coming back with these proposals. We appreciate it.
And Madam Chair, if I could just echo that as well, just want to thank Shane especially and CDOT staff for pulling a rabbit out of the hat. Clearly heard the conversation loud and clear last month, and there are constraints obviously with the policy directive adopted last year by the Transportation Commission. You mentioned maybe advocating with the state legislature. Probably another advocacy avenue would be with the State Transportation Commission, because they're the ones that ultimately approve the projects that are moving forward with CDOT. So down the road, I think we ought to talk about, how to maybe get in front of the TC a little bit more frequently and just let them know what our needs are down here and the need to invest in a balanced transportation system. But in the meantime, just super thankful for Shane and his staff's work and pulling this list together, and really thankful for the support.
Yes, and we did ask at the Statewide Transportation Advisory Committee if we thought the state legislature could cut any more out of transportation. We've decided they can't. So when the state legislative session starts, which we're going to talk about here in just a minute, everybody, if you could just say a little prayer, we would appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Our next item is our legislative update. Jared.
Good morning, everybody. Jared Werner, Public Policy and Communications Manager. Couple irons in the fire right now in terms of legislative stuff, but we'll start on the easy one. So federally, Congress is in their annual recess period. In the meantime, we have taken a closer look at what is Bill S-2120, which is what it turned out to be what we thought it was, which is the Older Americans Act Reauthorization Act of 2025. This is a bill that that this board took a support position on in the last Congress before it died on the calendar. Staff took a look and made sure that it was essentially the same bill, and it is. The biggest changes was changing all the 2024s to 2025s. And we talked about this at Legislative Committee. We would be recommending a support position on this particular bill.
Okay. One of the big things we do here is help out our area agency on aging. So I would entertain a motion to support this bill.
Mayor Dixon also move.
John Graham, I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Since we're all getting older, that's a good vote.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Jared. What's next?
The next part, I'm gonna tee this up for Jody and Steve Schleicher. This was something that came out of our Commission on Aging through the governor's process. This is a policy document to basically as a handout for a senior property tax exemption. And with that, I will let the experts take it from here.
Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. As you may know, we have another committee or commission within the Area Agency on Aging and under PPACG called the Pikes Peak Commission on Aging. And their role is primarily to look at policy and infrastructure and programs across the region and how they can provide input to improvements around that. One thing from the very beginning when we transferred the Commission on Aging from the city of Colorado Springs into the PPACG and AAA structure was to look at policy and legislative opportunities. This is really the first big one we have brought before you, and we're very excited because now Steve Schleicher is also in addition to his work day, he is now a committee member of the Commission on Aging, and he and a couple of other committee members have taken a look at the homestead property tax exemption. This has come before you before over the last several years as there's been concern about reduction in that area and how that will affect our older adults across our community and across the state. And so, in the past, it's been approved to approach our legislators and work on work committees at the state level to ensure that the messaging is out there. And so I'm going to pass this on now to Steve for just a moment to highlight what the Commission on Aging came up with. He and the other members produced the report and the white paper that was in your packet. And really just, Steve, if you'll highlight a few things. What we're asking for today is approval that should this come before the legislature as a possible cut, then we have the opportunity between myself as AAA director, Jared as a legislative representative, and our Commission on Aging, that we would have your approval to speak up for our seniors across our region.
Okay, Clerk and Recorder Steve Schleicher.
Madam Chair, Board of Directors, Steve Schleicher, good morning. And I appreciate the introduction from Jared. In fact, the term Steve Schleicher and an expert has never been synonymous. But what I want to share with you guys is the Senior Homestead Property Tax Exemption Program is something here where over 30,000 seniors participate in this program, and it's a benefit that they have earned. And we know that there are requirements for you to sit there and get in the senior homestead exemption. But usually what happens here in the state of Colorado is when there is budget issues at the state, this is a big ticket item. So right now the state backfills over $170 million statewide to the seniors for this exemption. So it's a big ticket item when you're sitting there taking a look at what our budget deficit is statewide. But what I want to share with you historically is there are some major ramifications when you do not fund the senior homestead exemption. Although there is discussion that they are not going to touch the senior homestead exemption for 2025. However, going into 2026, that could change. But I will share with you guys, and everybody who's sitting here today will know things change as soon as session starts up on the special session. You know, the conversations we hear today can be completely different starting on the 21st. But what has happened is if you take a look historically, is we sat there in 2009, 2010, 2011. In those years, the senior homestead exemption was not funded due to budget issues in the state of Colorado. But what I want to have you take a look at is look at the foreclosure filings and the foreclosure sales, how they basically dramatically went up. Now, it's very difficult to sit there and share if those were actually senior citizens that were impacted by it, but it's very, when you sit there and look at the data, when it's not being funded, is there's a lot of issues with our seniors who are having to sit there and try to come up with the additional monies that they were basically waiting on through the exemption program being backfilled by the state of Colorado. There's a lot of bad news to this. If a senior cannot pay their tax bill in accordance with Colorado law, it starts a very unfortunate process for our seniors. The first one is it goes into county tax sale. That allows a lien holder to come on in and redeem those taxes, and there's a lien placed on their home. They have 3 years to redeem that to be able to satisfy the delinquent taxes. But what is happening is interest is accruing on that for the lien holder. And after 3 years, the lien holder, the investor, can come in and purchase that out through a treasurer's deed. So that is a very unfortunate situation that happens here in the state of Colorado as well. The other thing I just want to share with you is as we sit there and move forward through the budget matters here in the state of Colorado, is not only am I worried about 2025, I'm also worried about 2026. And let me share with you why. So 2025, we all know we got that lovely letter from our county assessor, that little Valentine saying what the value of our property was, and we got that in May of this year. And so what has happened is some values have gone up, some values remain the same, some values have gone down. So what we're looking at is upcoming this election, we have a lot of municipalities, we have a lot of representatives here that are determining to include school districts of going to the ballot for any kind of mill levy increase or sales tax increase, things like that. This could have also a major impact when you're looking at going into 2026, because that is when we are going to be paying the taxes on the notice of value that we just received in May from our county assessor. So that increase will not show until 2026, payable 2027. So as you can see, this is a huge domino effect where now we're looking at the increase for our seniors possibly coming up in next year as well. But I appreciate Jody and Jared, and also the Commission on Aging for this. And I appreciate the PPACG being extremely proactive and not reactive in regards to sitting down with our legislators and just saying, hey, if this comes up, this is how important this is to our communities, Park, Teller, and El Paso County. So thank you for your time. Are there any questions? Yes, Mayor.
So you started by saying, Dennis Stern, Mayor Palmer Lake, you started by saying we have 30,000 participants. Is that just in El Paso and Teller, or is that statewide?
No. In fact, that is actually the 3 counties. We got over 30,000 for Park, Teller, and El Paso. Statewide, that number is much greater. In fact, El Paso County has the most seniors in the senior homestead exemption here locally. Also within the disabled veterans program as well, because we're the most unique county in the country where we got 5 major military installations. So El Paso is the largest. So with the 3 making up is Teller, Park, and El Paso. Mr. Mayor is, yeah, we're the largest in the state, but these numbers are nowhere near what the state numbers are.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any questions online? Okay, so this is an action item to move to protect the senior homestead property tax exemption. Am I correct? And to also be able to get up there and lobby the legislature on behalf of this.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead, Mayor Thompson.
One of the other things discussed at the legislative meeting was the possibility of Mayor Dixon and Commissioner Stone, since they're the co-chairs of that, kind of being on tap to be available also. Not that the rest of us wouldn't be, but they would be their first call maybe. And then he's nodding his head yes as I'm voluntolding him. So no, and so I'd like to just kind of throw that at Chair, make sure everybody's aware of it too. It doesn't mean not everybody can speak up, right? But we just needed some key people as point of contact. So
yes, and they would be our primary point of contacts, and probably spending, I suspect Commissioner Stone is planning on spending some serious time up there too. So
I love Denver.
it's a nice place to visit.
From what I understand, the legislature you will not be able to testify in this session.
Mm-hmm. But you will be able to twist arms behind the scenes. Okay.
And actually, if I may, Madam Chair.
Yes.
We asked our lobbyist at the meeting on Monday if they'd established rules yet for the special session. And at that time, he suggested that public testimony would be allowed, but could be limited potentially in total time, but did not go so far as to say that there would not be testimony allowed unless that has changed to what was reported to us on Monday.
Sorry about that, Eric. That was just what came out last night at the GOP meeting from Dan, actually. So
Okay,
good,
thanks.
that's
Yeah.
good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, and we do have a good lobbyist firm up there too, so there's plenty of opportunity to discuss with each of our state representatives and senators. Okay, we will take a motion to approve this legislative item.
Move to approve. Support
Okay.
the legislative item.
Dennis Stern, Palmer Lake, second.
Okay, all of those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, and any opposed? All right, so I will tell you, our staff made up a wonderful spreadsheet, which was quite fascinating, on the Department of Human Services legislation, because that's for county commissioners, that's been our big problem this year. And the number of bills from 2019 to 2025 where they've expanded human services benefits, we went through the dollar amount of each one of them. Pretty amazing. There are a lot of places they could cut in some of those bills. So I just started circling the ones and say, cut this. So, and Commissioner Stone knows what I'm talking about. There's a lot of places we could cut there. All right. Is there anything further, Jared?
I was just going to do a real quick drive-by. I'm sure most of you are aware, but in case you're not, the special session does start next Thursday. The number to cut has been decreasing by about $100 million a week. It started 2 weeks ago at $955 million. Last I heard, it's now at $750 million 2 weeks ago. So who knows? Maybe by next week, it'll be solved. I'll leave that out there for everyone. But we are hearing, just I'd say through reports by Minister City here and anybody else, the current strategy from what I've heard primarily from the governor's office is that they're looking to address that by about a third through reserves, a third through cuts, which they've already implemented hiring freeze at the state, and a third is kind of through the tax code changes. Obviously, as someone said, a lot can change between now and next Thursday. We'll be following it closely. We'll be communicating as things happen. There's still a lot that we don't know in terms of how they're going to tackle this. And that's kind of, I think, why we're probably got our antenna up more on this one than previous special sessions, just because it is kind of a wide open topic area. So we're also going to be talking AI, not one that we're going to be following real closely. But just want to provide that. We'll be in communication as things start rolling up next Thursday.
Okay. Go ahead, Mayor Thompson.
Cuts is good as long as they come in areas like you've identified some already. What isn't good is if they start talking about increasing fees in different areas and fees and different taxes on businesses and enterprises where everybody's already struggling. And so cuts is what needs to happen, not fees and taxes.
Yep. Nope. We're
and enterprises.
Yes. We received an interesting phone survey at our house yesterday, and perhaps an increase in some fees on businesses was one of those questions, I think. So it's out there. But that's okay. We could all hold our breath and hope it all goes well. Thank you very much, Jared. We appreciate all your work on that. Okay. So our next item is about the 2026 budget process. Carol.
Hey, good morning. Carol McBroom, PPACG Finance Director. I am here today. This presentation is to begin engagement with our staff, your staff, and the jurisdictions in the areas, particularly in member dues and wage expectations for 2026. And we'll also go over the budget process timeline. But let's start with member dues. Just a reminder, PPACG is primarily funded by federal and state grants that are reimbursable. We use our local government dues for required match and to cover non-reimbursable expenses. We calculate member dues based on the abstract of property assessments. We have not received all of our members' abstracts, so I don't have a calculation to give to you today. But I also wanted to kind of remind you, back in 2023, when we talked about member dues and increases, the board approved increases based on the July Denver CPI, which is the Denver Consumer Price Index. And it was recommended that adjustments be annual, and that the majority of the members believed smaller annual increases were easier to handle financially than the larger increments that we were doing in the past. And again, since I don't have all the abatements assessments in, I don't have we're not looking for an increase at this time. We're just looking for feedback. I did yesterday, the July Denver CPI did update, and it's sitting at 2.1% over this time last year. So based on that, an increase could be 2.1%. Again, we're looking for feedback on that number. So moving on to salary expectations, our staff is looking at our budget processes. We're looking at our needs, our staffing needs. We're reviewing our grant funding. We're analyzing overall expenses. In addition, we're consulting with our city, county, and all of jurisdictions who want to help us in that area. We're reaching out to any stakeholder that would be interested in giving us the information, and that's going to guide us into our budget recommendation. As the research is ongoing and the puzzle pieces really haven't been put together, we don't have a salary estimation for 2026. In September, we're doing the extended board workshop, and this is where we're really going to request a lot of feedback in both the areas of the dues expectations and your wage expectations for your jurisdictions. So having to say that, basically what's going to happen is September, the extended board workback, I'm going to come to you and look for feedback in those areas. In October, I'm going to come and I will have draft budgets, probably with some wage allocations. In the past, y'all have liked various choices, so we'll offer those to you too. And in November, I'll bring back the final budget, and hopefully for adoption, we do have December if we need it. Anyway, that's just a high level expectations that it's coming in the budget process. So let me know if you have any questions in that area.
So when you say you need like the abstract of assessment, should we contact our county assessors and have them send that to you? Or
so I actually am very familiar with contacting El Paso County. I have a good contact, and I'm good. I bug them enough. They get me the information as soon as they can get it.
Okay. And then the other thing that is very helpful here is on salary expectations as y'all start planning your budgets for next year, to pay attention on what kind of salaries your municipalities or counties are planning on giving as far as increases, so that when we come back next month, we can say, okay, we're going to give everybody a 2% base, and then, maybe a 3% pay for performance or something on top of that. That's probably really high for what the economy's been like this year. But, and Andy, I think we just do straight pay for performance here, right?
Right. With PPACG, it's all merit-based, tied into our annual evaluation process.
Okay.
Yep.
So as you meet with your budget directors, I know the commissioners are getting ready to meet with our budget director, and it helps if you write down those numbers and kind of get what your own organization is doing, so that we can kind of come in about at a good number for our own employees here at PPACG. Mayor Thompson.
Yeah, just back to the dues increase. Just want to give everybody who is newer to the board a little bit of history. In the past, PPACG would sit flat and not do member due increases for years, and then they would do 5, 7, 10% increases, and that was just really hard to absorb all at once. And so that's why the board kind of gave direction a few years ago to keep doing 2 or 3% increases every year on member dues, so we can budget for it and just kind of have that number in the back of our mind when we're doing our budgeting processes, to be sure to include that. I think it's helpful. I think next month is going to be probably a little too early for some of us to be having those numbers yet, but we need to be taking those numbers back. So if we're thinking 2 to 3%, I think that's a fair number for us to start taking back for our staff to, especially the two larger member entities that contribute the most probably need those numbers a little earlier. But that's just historical why we kind of went to the annual smaller increases rather than leaving it flattened and very difficult for some of the smaller municipalities to do the larger increases all at once. So yeah, but that's just my 2 cents.
That was 4 cents.
That's my 2.1%. Yes.
Yes, please be sure to speak with your budget directors and say, hey, it could be 2.1%. Usually as soon as I get those numbers, I try to send it over to our organization so that they know what to account for. Okay, any further questions? Any questions online? All right, thank you. Our next update is the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging, Jody Barker.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Again, Jody Barker, your PPACG Area Agency on Aging Director. And for those of you who may not have been with us for a while, we have recently, over the last several years, converted to a 2-year contract cycle with our Area Agency on Aging, RFP process, and contractors. And so this report today is to provide you an update on the current AAA funding allocation as we're now into our first month and a half of our second year of our 2-year contract period. So in planning for this second year, the current 2-year contract period, due to funding uncertainties at the federal level and budget cuts expected at the state level, our state administrators, the State Unit on Aging within the Colorado Department of Human Services, required all area agencies on aging across the state to reduce our budgets by 25%. There was real concerns around funding of what that would look like since the Older Americans Act did not pass back in December, and what funding might look like. The way the state works, they based on federal allocations from the previous 3 years, can only commit to 75% of the average of those 3 years. And so that's how the state directed us to reduce our budgets by 25%. After moving forward with the federal budget process, the continuing resolution at the state level, the state budgeting process, we're happy to share that our reduction was only 1.73%. And we'll get to that slide in just a moment. But that overall funding reduction did come to $103,878. And so, as a way to appropriately balance and allow our contracted providers to plan, approaching the contract period of July 1 and that kind of thing, once we had the true up letter, which is effectively our annual option letter under our 5-year contract with the state, showing those new numbers, our providers were able to go back in and rework their contracts to come back to level funding from the first year contract. So we have now gone through the process internally with finance department, our contract staff here, that all of our providers have now had their contract amendments updated to true up their state fiscal year 26 contracted allocations, effectively flat funding compared to the first year because of this reduction overall. You might ask how we were able to do that to keep our providers level, and that's because I'm a penny pincher and very careful budgeter, and so we were able to plan knowing the process. Typically, there are carryover funds simply because the state and federal fiscal years do not align. And so we provided all of the allocations to our providers on the front end. We took the hit within the Area Agency on Aging here for our programs, and we will recoup that back to a flat level when the carryover funds are dispersed later, and those allocations are announced later in the fall. But we'd expected a bigger hit, and so we'll take the 1.73 as we continue to move forward with the budgeting process. Let's see, do I have the slides? Oh, there we go. So here's an overall funding picture. So in our state fiscal year 25, our Area Agency on Aging funding allocation, this is a blend of federal and state funding, was $6,530. For the state fiscal year 26, which just started on July 1, our allocation was $5,896,652. Like I said, this represents a 1.73% reduction in overall funding. That was a reduction at the federal level by 109,520, but a tiny increase, ironically, given the ups and downs of this spring's legislative season, an increase of $5,642, providing a net reduction of $103,878. Before I go to my next slide, are there any questions around those numbers or processes? Okay. Next slide, please. So I thought I'd share, what does all this mean for services across our 3 county areas? Overall, that allocation represents about $3.2 million out to the community across all 3 counties. That is shared out to 17 contracted providers. And we take a portion of our allocation. We go through the same process as our providers do. We apply for the allocations. And we also contract with an additional 15 agencies who provide home care services in El Paso County in order to provide those services. So overall, what I'm going to show you here represents 17 contracted providers and 59 services across the 17 providers, as well as the Area Agency on Aging, our staff right here in the office. So we can see their Brothers Redevelopment with their evidence-based health promotion, City of Colorado Springs Fire Department and their advanced case management, Colorado Legal Services with case management and legal assistance, Community of Caring, who we heard about this morning, based in Cripple Creek. We provide funding in their within their senior services area around case management and their homemaker vouchers. We also have transportation services through Invita and El Paso, the Fountain Valley Senior Center. Also with health promotion partners doing counseling education. And this is around folks being able, are they safe to drive in as they get older, and supporting our family caregivers in that way as well. We're also providing a variety of services for low vision and blind folks experiencing blindness as they age or by chronic conditions with case management education and assistive technology. We also have a contract with Licensed Dental Hygiene, providing dental and denture services. We also are doing educational services through New Vision, another low vision support entity here in Colorado Springs. We're proud to continue a partnership with Park County Senior Coalition. They provide a variety of services for Park County, including case management, home delivered meals, and several voucher services, which we like to affectionately call neighbor to neighbor services, because there are no service providers. And so an older adult can contact Park County Senior Coalition, get a voucher, make arrangements for rides or chore services, and then that entity, volunteer, friend, family member, friend from church, can then be reimbursed for their costs through that voucher program. So it's a creative way to make sure that services are enabled for folks where there are no formal services provided. We also have our evidence-based health promotion through the PEARLS program, which was the first program in the state of Colorado. We also have home delivered meals through Project Angel Heart. While they're based out of Denver, they do provide specialized meals for those with diseases and chronic conditions to those folks who need those and go through a medical process. We also contract with UCCS for some very specialized caregiver counseling and public information opportunities. Last slide, please. And then many of you are familiar with Silver Key Senior Services with their transportation opportunities. They're on demand. Case management, chore, congregate meals, counseling, home delivered meals, nutrition counseling, and their education programs. We also partner with Teller Senior Coalition, a coalition based in Divide in Teller County for both assisted transportation and transportation, case management, chore, home delivered meals, material aid, which in this case is a grocery delivery program, nutrition education, and again, those voucher programs very similar to Park County. We do have classes through YMCA, and then our Area Agency on Aging. The services that we provide here are very important because they don't replace any of the programs that we contract with. We're very proud of that fact that we coordinate services and are able to add to the services that we contract with across the 3-county region. In this case, our Family Caregiver Support Center is based right here in the AAA. We also have the Direct Services Division, which you met several of our new staff for the SHIP, which is the State Health Insurance Program, managing Medicare and open enrollment, as well as information and assistance related to insurance programs, and also their case management. We also host the state long-term care ombudsman program here, supporting folks who live in long-term care communities, and that's really of all ages, not just older adults. Administration, that's me and several other of our staff members who administer the grants and the processes, and making sure that not only the programs that we do, but the programs that we contract with are meeting all the federal and state requirements of the Older Americans Act and the Older Coloradans Act. We also have a volunteer program management program, and our program development staffer, who you've seen on occasion, Melissa Martz. Her primary focuses are on outreach, grants writing, which we received a small grant recently for our Family Caregiver Support Center. Very excited to that, and we've got another one that was just submitted. So we'll see. We're very excited about those opportunities. And then she also serves as our committee liaison with our committees, our Regional Advisory Council, as well as our Pikes Peak Commission on Aging. So wanted to give you a sense of where are those dollars going, and what is happening across the 3-county region to serve our older adults. You'll hear from me again probably in the fall or the spring once we're a little bit further along in our request for proposal process. We will be working from the current state fiscal year number of that 5.8 million as a starting point. And this board has really supported us over the last several years in order that we can stay on track with our contracting process, with supporting our providers. We've taken on, at the AAA, we've taken on some additional administrative duties to help relieve those expectations for our providers so that they can focus on doing the good work in the community. And so we're proud of that. But you'll be hearing from us again soon as RFPs get reviewed and our technical review subcommittee of our RAC begin to review those applications and determine allocations. So more to come. So thank you very much.
We appreciate all that you and your staff do. It's one of the big functions of our agency here.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, any questions? I don't think I saw any. Okay, our next item is the Military Installation Resilience Review Update with Paul Rochette. This looks interesting. They all do, but this one does too.
There we go. Is that better? All right. So I get to say good morning, everyone, a second time. So, Colonel Herndon mentioned this tabletop exercise that we have coming up next week, and I wanted to brief you on really what that entails fairly quickly, but still a more in-depth overview of what we've been doing. This particular effort is in response to needs expressed by USAFA, and we're also doing a smaller modeling effort for our Cheyenne Mountain Space Force Station. But for those of you that might not have much of a background in what we've done in the past, our military planning program has been in existence for maybe about 10 years. It started with a very, very large review of the military-civilian interface needs, then moved on to developing some air impact zone planning, working with City of Colorado Springs. Then it moved on to do some energy studies, some wildfire mitigation. We were able to apply for grants through Department of Defense. We brought in over $3.4 million in wildfire mitigation and planning dollars. And now with this latest grant, we've really been focusing on, okay, how do we actually try and make a difference in terms of wildfire risk to the Air Force Academy and to the region in itself. So what we've done is we've hired a consulting firm out of Flagstaff, geomorphology and hydrology experts and tabletop experts, and we're holding this tabletop next week. We have at least 22 local, state, and federal agencies attending. Up to 100 participants who will be there. It's an all-day workshop, and it's split into two related topics. The first one is wildfire modeling progression risk analysis, and the second one, the afternoon session, is going to be about, okay, let's assume we have a major wildfire that burns the watersheds to the west of Air Force Academy. What happens in terms of post-wildfire flooding? That's a big risk that very few people really have looked at, but we've experienced it. So we're going to be looking at that. What are our risks to the installation, and what can we do about it? The scenarios are being focused on areas contingent to USAFA, but I think the lessons learned will be applicable throughout the Front Range. The benefit to the military is to strengthen the resilience and readiness by understanding the risk to the mission and understanding what potential actions we can take to reduce that risk. We're also working with the Inspector General's office at Air Force Academy, and we're killing two birds with one stone. We're knocking out one of their annual requirements for a tabletop exercise by adapting this to their needs as well. So what I thought I'd do, though, is go over just very briefly what this whole session will look like. So, yeah, okay. So in the morning, we're going to have some introductory remarks. It may be Colonel Herndon, it may be Colonel Brown, it could even be the superintendent. But we're focusing on a major cross-jurisdictional wildfire threatening USAFA. And we're talking about, when we talk major, we're talking either type 1 or type 2 fires, which involve state resources and federal resources. And we're modeling different possible fires, some to the southwest of USAFA, some to the west of USAFA. And we're looking at 2.5-day progression models in terms of under different wind conditions and how bad could it get. So we're going to discuss, the morning is really about command and control, not about operationally how you fight the fire. The fire departments have that well under control, but this is really along the issues of who's in command, who controls this, what happens over the course of a fire. We talk about jurisdictional authority. We talk about incident command and incident command structures. And we're going to talk about interagency communication and information sharing. Next slide, please. So some of the participants, and there are many, USAFA, the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management, Colorado Springs Utilities, U.S. Forest Service, El Paso County Stormwater, El Paso County Sheriff's Office, City of Colorado Springs Fire, and the Stormwater folks, Monument Fire, National Guard, and a whole slew of other agencies. Next slide, please. So we're going to discuss modeling based on a hypothetical multi-jurisdictional fire under extreme adverse conditions. These are things that scare us and keep us up at night worrying. Then we're going to talk about the critical infrastructure, what might be most at risk at USAFA and the environs around USAFA, and we'll be presenting several fire progression maps. Then we have the control and command discussion, which takes up the majority of the morning. Who's in charge and when, who pays for assets used during the long multi-jurisdictional fire, how do we communicate among ourselves, how do we make decisions on who's in charge, so on and so forth. Then we get to the communication issues. Who communicates with the media and the citizens when multiple jurisdictions are involved? And are all communication channels already defined and practiced? We're anticipating a lot of discussion without, there's so much to be covered. We're not going to come up with solutions. What we're going to come up with is a long list of parking lot issues to follow up after this event. So this is to bring to the fore what needs to be understood, practiced, and resolved. And then we're going to discuss about role of other agencies, such as the Sheriff's Office, PPREM, state agencies, National Guard, there's FEMA, there's a number of different agencies. That is done in 3.5 hours, so not a lot of time. The event will be held at Air Force Academy in Doolittle Hall in the auditorium because we can fit that many people in the auditorium. It's not terribly conducive to sitting at small tables and discussing issues. We'll work that one out. Originally, we were going to have it in one of the seminar rooms, had a maximum capacity of 84, and we blew past that, so we've moved it. The afternoon, though, is presentation by the J.E. Fuller Hydrology and Geomorphology Company. They'll be leading the morning session as well. But the focus is on the post-wildfire flooding threatening USAFA. So first of all, we start off with a mapped area based on an assumption of a complete burn of all of the subbasins that drain directly into or onto or through USAFA. And that includes 2 drainages north of USAFA, well, actually west, and they flow north and then down through Monument, Palmer Lake and Monument, and then into North Monument Creek, and 3 drainages that flow through Air Force Academy. So we're going to be looking at what happens there. Then we'll do the post-fire hydraulic and hydrological analysis with maps, tables, timelines, explanation of mechanics of post-fire water and debris flow. The analysis to be most detailed for USAFA, but some approximate data for Monument and outflow into the city of Colorado Springs. There'll be lots of maps where we can look at what areas on USAFA are at risk under extreme flood and moderate flood conditions. Then presentation of potential damages to critical infrastructure or operations on USAFA from post-fire floods, both over time and both from a particular large rain event or through an accumulation of rain events over a period of time. Both of those have very potential severe impacts, but they're very different from each other. Then we move on in the afternoon, a discussion of potential pre-fire flood mitigation measures that can be taken, along with a rough cost consideration. And these are both structural and non-structural. So beginning to get a handle on what could we do before we even have a fire. Then we move on to potential post-fire flood mitigation measures that could be taken immediately after a fire. Okay, we've had that terrible fire. It covered multiple subbasins. It was a bad one. What do we do now? We know the chances of a major flood are very high. What can we do at this point? And then finally, but then we present volumetric flows, flood flow potential through Monument and onto USAFA, and then flows leaving Air Force Academy into the city of Colorado Springs. We'll have a discussion on the need for more coordinated multi-jurisdictional discussion of post-wildfire flood preparation and a wrap-up. So it's like, okay, what do we do now? This isn't just a study, throw it on a shelf. It hopefully will lead to more discussions of what can we do to be better prepared to both mitigate a wildfire and failure to, still having a wildfire. What do we do it? How do we prevent and mitigate against a major flood? We anticipate this to be coordinated a follow-up to be informed by the discussions that take place during and after the tabletop. It's expected numerous issues will arise during the exercise, which will be recorded in order to follow up with future meetings and work sessions. So that's what Colonel Herndon was talking about this morning. People are really excited. This thing has built in terms of interest, with me beginning to get calls. Can I attend? Can I attend? And so the afternoon session, we're right at our limit of number of people. So it'd be maybe, but anyway, we'll be getting the formal invite out. We've already sent an invite out, but we have to send them instructions on how to get onto USAFA, where the thing will be located, and a detailed agenda. And that should be coming out hopefully today or tomorrow. So with that, and Colonel Herndon had mentioned Amy Kelly, and I want to do a shout out for Amy. Amy is the Community Liaison Officer for USAFA, an absolutely fantastic person to work with, invaluable, couldn't have done this without her. So with that, I'll take questions.
Okay, are there any questions? It sounds very, very fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you'll discuss how to protect our chapel in case it ever gets finished.
And I just got to say, this is probably the best job I've ever had. I love this kind of work. So anyway, if anybody has any any questions, feel free to call me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, on to other reports. So we have the minutes for our Transportation Advisory Committee are in the packet, the Community Advisory Committee, the Mobility Coordinating Committee, the RAC, and the Pikes Peak Commission on Aging. There was not a meeting of the Air Quality Technical Committee or the Water Quality Management Committee. And so the CDOT monthly update. Do we have John or Shane? Okay, John.
Let John take this one on.
Thank you, board members. Appreciate it. Just the usual, really nothing a lot has changed this month. Our active construction projects, Powers and Airport, Fillmore to Garden of the Gods in particular, those are really advancing well. Going to see a pretty stable situation on I-25 for a good amount of time here. And Powers and Airport is going to be progressing here. I don't have an ETA quite yet, but they're progressing rapidly towards the point where they might try to get traffic up on the bridge on Airport. So 115 Nelson Boulevard, 115 resurfacing from Nelson Boulevard to Brookside is progressing well, really just nothing too significant on that. And we have the 67D project in Woodland Park. It's definitely seeing its challenges with some weather and rain and productivity on the pipe installation, but I believe we're in a stable situation in terms of traffic and stuff like that with the town. I know it's causing some impacts and the some detours around to get through some of those side streets, but I believe it's progressing as well as we can get with the weather and stuff like that. So we're working with the contractor, and we've worked with them to speed up a little bit through some phasing changes. So also got ongoing traffic projects, signing, striping, rumble strips. I don't have any significant updates on that. I added to this slide just some future visibility. US 24, obviously Garrett to Woodman, a project Shane mentioned earlier in the 10-year list. That's the big one that we're planning. So Garrett to Woodman, widening, reconstruction. Also some other projects on the radar, in particular for 2027, US 24 and Judge Orr Road intersection improvements, and some improvements up there at Green Mountain Falls. So, take any questions on that before I move on to the slide about Central Front Range.
Does anyone have any questions? Mayor Dixon and then Mayor Thompson.
Yeah, at some point, could we get what you're intending to do at the intersection up there in Green Mountain Falls so I can put it in front of the board and say, here's what's going to happen?
Well, yes, I will definitely talk with Scott Schnagi, my RE. I know they're getting it together. I mean, they're really evaluating even some of the exact, like where they're going to add some auxiliary space or shoulders
when it's ready.
Yep.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
I will
Thank
make sure that they ping you at the right time to give you guys some information. Absolutely.
Mayor Thompson.
This is a tongue-in-cheek question, so take it as kind of a joke, okay? I was talking with somebody the other day about Woodman, and I said, we moved here over 20 years ago. We were looking at a house in that area, and there was construction. And I don't think construction on Woodman has ever stopped in the entire time I've lived here. Is there an end? This person really was honestly saying, is there an insight? Because it just seems like every time something gets torn up on Woodman, they move, for over 20 years. And so.
I'm going to assume you mean Woodman and I-25 right
Well,
in that
well,
area, because Woodman's not a state highway.
Right, okay.
So I don't
Maybe
have too much
I don't know, it just-
intel on the city
right.
stuff.
It just seems like in general, and I'm so glad we didn't buy that house because we would have been in that construction zone for 20 years. So, yeah, so.
I've been happy to be able to make the right turn from northbound I-25 onto Woodman more easily in the last week or two myself.
Yeah.
Taking my little trips over to REI or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, no, the city would have to give you some more information on some of those projects, but.
It is possible if Briargate Parkway gets finished, but I will tell you, I used to go out to the county fair when we first moved here. It'd take about 5 minutes to get to Falcon, and now it takes about 20 minutes to get to Falcon and then 10 minutes to the county fair. So it's just reversed. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. So
I'm gonna look at the map here and see the distance between I-25 to Falcon on Woodman and wonder how 5 minutes.
No. I
never mind. I'll
I drive fast.
Chair, you did mention something in the previous 1 or 2 meetings that might have indicated your ability to drive fast there.
Yes, but not aggressively, just fast. Okay, let's go on to Park County or Central Front Range.
Yeah, Central Front Range. I'll just do a quick rundown of the projects, 9 and 285. The chain up stations on 9 and 285 as well. The first project being 9 and 285 intersection reconstruction. So those projects are really just still in the wrapping up phase, doing some last punch list work. The chain ups are really up and going. We have resurfacing on 24 there, Florissant the Divide, which is progressing pretty much as planned. US 285 resurfacing up right around the Jeffco County line, so that's also progressing. I think they're having a little bit of delays with some weather and productivity and stuff up there. Brandon Sand and Gravel coming out of Denver is doing that project though, but everything is progressing pretty well on all those projects. Timber Bridge, sister beam projects are just getting some old timber bridges reinforced for freight capacity and things like that. So that's been ongoing east side of town and up in the mountains. And we got a rumble strip project going too. So everything's progressing pretty much on pace, on schedule this year on those projects. Nothing too significant with the wrap up of the 9 and 285 intersection reconstruction really. So, and then plan future projects of note. Just wanted to emphasize we're going to be doing some more culvert lining and repair work in Fremont County, mostly in the Canyon City area on US 50. Colorado 69 there, Texas Creek and south through the Fremont County area, through to the Fremont County, Custer County border is a plan to go to add this fall and into construction in 2026, as is US 24 resurfacing out east through east of Peyton through Calhan. That will include a passing lane for eastbound east of Calhan. And then we're also looking at some concrete preventive maintenance work, slab replacements and things like that down by Penrose on 115. So again, I'll take any questions or anything on those projects.
Yeah, quick question on 67F, just south of Divide there. What was the intent on removing all the passing lanes on 67? It has changed my commute to Cripple Creek considerably.
I'm removing passing lane?
Yep, the lines. Not actual lanes, but passing areas on 67F. All of them have been removed from 4 Mile to Gillette Flats.
We'll definitely get back with you. I don't know that area. We'll have to talk to our traffic engineer, but I know when we go through and redo a striping section, we take into account sight distance and safe maneuverability through those passing sections. And so more than likely that was one of the issues being addressed, and possibly accident history along that corridor in that area.
Yeah, I went and passed somebody and then realized that the line had changed overnight. Yeah. So all the passing lanes have been removed, so it does make that commute considerably longer, especially when we're coming up to leaf peeping time. So we're going to have vehicles driving 20 and 30 miles an hour.
Yeah. So more likely that was just addressing some safety issues, accident history and safety issues. But I will have a traffic engineer get a hold of you.
Yeah, it was interesting to see. We have talked about it at the city council level.
Sure. Yep.
Yes, and I apologize. You spooked me because you said passing lanes.
I know, I should have said.
As opposed to passing zones,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So, and I had a project that I myself actually even designed a few years back. Shane, not while I've been program engineer, that was before. That put in a pull out there at Gillette Flats and stuff like that. I don't think those have been striped off. But so there are some options for passing or slow vehicle pull-offs and stuff. But yeah, I'm sure the restriping projects would have evaluated. But yeah, I'll also just try to make sure our traffic.
Yeah, it's changed over the 3-month time. It changed several times, so it was a little difficult to figure out what we were going to see each day. So
yeah, thank you,
Mayor Thompson.
I know the MAMSIP projects get very confusing when it gets onto Academy. But the Academy part where you get off onto exit onto 85, who is in charge of the alignment off of Academy in that area onto 85? Is that CDOT or?
But it is a local agency, El Paso County project.
I know.
They're managing it. I can certainly pass word on that there's
The
concerns on it.
configuration of the exit off of Academy heading south onto 85 south. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and south on Academy too, right? The hard right.
It's so confusing where south is at that point.
Heading
If I'm going doesn't it? If you go under I-25 headed towards Colorado Springs, right? And then you go, then the exit on 85. Does that make sense now?
So, yeah.
The arrangement of the concrete barricades is really bad. I drove by it one night because I couldn't figure it out fast enough to drive and get off. And I finally drove it the other day during the daylight, and it's very narrow. When the time changes, you're going to have people coming at you with headlights. You're getting off and you're right next to each other. And then there's this big bump down, and it's just really bad.
It's definitely a tight configuration.
If somebody could look at that and at least let us know what the timeline is for doing something maybe not quite so scary.
Well, I will talk to our MAMSIP project engineer, even though he's not directly owning that project.
Yeah, you got the people that are sitting there and they're trying to get off of the freeway onto that section, and they're sitting there because it's pretty. What's the word I want besides?
So it's the South Academy exit off of I-25, then onto Highway 85, 87.
You're on Academy.
On Academy.
You're coming.
Heading towards Milton Proby.
Like from Pikes, you know where Pikes Peak Community College is, okay? So you go under Academy there. You go under Academy, and there's people getting off the freeway trying to get on, and there's zero runway for them to get onto Academy. You go past a little bit more, and then there's the right next to each other, the people exiting Academy and the people entering Academy, and it's just very narrow and
exiting and entering 285 or 85, right?
Exiting onto 85, and then you're the people getting off of 85 onto Academy are all. It's a pretty risky area. I try to avoid it. I will go out of my way to avoid it, but drove it the other day on purpose to just see what it was.
Coming on from 85 has been a very short merge for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll mention that to the county engineer.
Okay.
Yes.
That's why I said it gets very confusing with. And then you got the PPRTA going over by the college and.
Yes. Lots of projects this summer.
Not complaining, just.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
So the Statewide Transportation Advisory Committee met. One of the questions I asked was, I guess the layoffs are the the hiring freeze will not apply to CDOT employees who are going to be driving the snow plows this winter. And so we'll still have snow services going on. Those type of employees will still be hired. We also had a presentation that Commissioner Vanderwerf would have loved about airports in Colorado. I really enjoyed it. And we talked about busting. And those were the things we talked about. It was interesting. I found the meeting to be interesting, but no major changes or anything. So we will go. Is Mayor Mitch still on for the Front Range passenger rail update?
I am. Thank you all for promoting me to this position. I can't thank you enough. It has been quite the experience so far. I can't wait to have lots of
Hang on,
information to
I can't
share.
hear him.
Can you speak up just a little bit?
You can't hear me?
Now we can.
Okay. So far, it's been pretty interesting. I went through my first meeting with them last month, and then I had a 3-hour indoctrination session with their staff members down in Monument. And I don't have anything critical to report at this moment. I'm getting on some additional committees. I'm looking over which ones seem to be more exciting than the others. And the board has decided to take the month of August off, so there will be no meetings in August. So next meetings will be in September. I'm sure there'll be lots of interesting things to present to this board about what their intent is, given that they have no money.
Yes, it'll be interesting. I did hear that they do have a train now running to Longmont. So, and I don't know where I read that. If that's correct, Shane. Okay, maybe it was just a fun day or something. Maybe I just was reading fake news. Okay.
I think that's where they're supposed to go to. I don't think it runs to Longmont yet. I think that's the intent of it, to go from Denver, Westminster, Boulder to Longmont, and it's not yet running.
Yeah, maybe it was like a test drive or something. So thank you very much for reporting on that. We do have a list of committee and commission vacancies on our list. And from there, we will go to our executive director's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just a couple items I have real quick, but actually following up on Mayor LaKine's report, we did have a request from the Passenger Rail District staff members, Chrissy Bright, interim general manager, to do a briefing to the PPACG board. They've briefed us, the board here, occasionally over the past couple of years. So just wanted to let Mayor LaKine and our chair know that we may schedule that at some point here in the coming couple of months, just to do a check-in and see where things stand and so forth. So just wanted to pass that along. Just two other things real quick. After this meeting, after about a 10-minute break, we are going to dive into federal transportation reauthorization. Just as a reminder, shouldn't be a super long workshop. And for those that have an interest and want to provide some feedback, we have some suggestions, thoughts that we want to throw into the till for consideration at the federal level, as the transportation bill at the federal congressional level is under consideration between now and the end of 2026. So just wanted to put a reminder out there about that right after this meeting. And then the last thing I've got is we're going to hold an expanded workshop. Carol alluded to this during her budget discussion. But for the September 5th workshop date, you should have a calendar invite that shows from 9 to about 11 or 11:30. Just to do a slightly deeper dive into our budget. We'll talk about, we had a good conversation earlier, obviously, about the local dues portion that comes into our budget and how that's used to match state and federal dollars. We'll give you some examples as far as how that is used to leverage money that does come back to the region. For instance, for say AAA funds, if we're going to spend $10, $1 of local dues is required. For transportation, it's typically $2 for every $10 we spend. So different match rates for different programs and different grants that we get. But we'll kind of walk you through that. Also talk about priorities, work plan, priorities that we have for 2026, and do a brief check-in also on progress on major activities for 2025, and also progress that we've made on our strategic plan that was adopted a couple of years ago. So unless you have any other questions, that's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. Let's go around the table for member entity announcements. Mayor Case.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of exciting things to share. One being the most interesting to you all. We have gone under contract as a city for our utility department to purchase the Shining Mountain Golf Course in Woodland Park. That comes with 335 acres, 18 hole golf course, and 3 disc golf courses, and about 135 acres of open space that was slated and platted to be developed along with water taps reserved. So with that probably coming off the table and not developing, that puts a whole lot of water back in our coffers for water. That's I think the most attractive part of that, and what really caused us to consider the purchase. So that's where we're headed there. We're going to do a complete business plan and master plan for that whole project, and kind of let the golf course operate and limp along on its short schedule, because our season up there is very short. But that's really exciting. It's really kind of a legacy thing, and will provide a lot to a lot of folks in the way of recreational opportunities, not just golf. The other thing is we are under contract also to purchase around an acre. It's just a little under an acre in downtown between Vector Bank and the what is now a rest stop, where the Tava House is being built in the downtown development area. That will help us to redevelop that Bergstrom Park, which is that rest stop in town, to take the parking out of that space, which is really inconvenient. It causes a lot of traffic congestion at that intersection when people try to pull in there. That's having to be redone, and there's some requirements by CDOT for the highway there too, in response to the Tava project. And so we're going to redevelop that into a park and take it down into that parking area to kind of make a park environment, but create about 70 plus parking spaces there to include RV parking and such. We own the adjacent lot below that will punch through with an easement through Vector Bank's parking lot to West Street, which is one of the traffic lights, which that side of the road is a challenge sometimes to get in and out of on Highway 24. So that's another really exciting project, and the community is thrilled over that. And that's all. Those 2 items are on top of what we did last year, which was to purchase the Avenger open space up on Kings Crown, which was an 120 acre acquisition to preserve from development. And we're working with the Palmer Land Trust to create a conservation easement there. And we are using a $1 million grant that we got to do mitigation in our area. So we're using a lot of that in the Avenger open space to mitigate there for fire mitigation. A lot of fun things going on and exciting things. We're not just complaining and fighting amongst ourselves as far as governmental bodies anymore, and moving into some exciting things for the community. So I just wanted to share those things with you all. Commissioner Applegate.
Pioneer Rodeo is taking place this weekend over at the Norris Penrose Event Center, 7 to 9. Rodeo first 2 days, Friday, Saturday, and a demolition derby scheduled for Sunday. Hope to see everyone out there.
Are they letting you drive a car?
I wish.
Mayor Stern.
Palmer Lake is just is finishing up the annual Chautauqua Festival, which was a success. And yesterday, D38 dedicated a new preschool playground and pre-K and preschool program at the Palmer Lake Elementary. So that's a good addition for our young families in Palmer Lake.
Mayor Graham.
Well, it's a busy summer in Manitou Springs. We're beginning to see some of the weekday traffic thin out as people return to school. We will have our big Commonweal Artist Festival on Labor Day weekend. And other than that, it's, chaos, panic, disorder, the usual summer in Manitou. Thanks.
And the pot is better in Manitou than it is in Colorado Springs. I have no experience with that, I assure you.
Did you say that out loud, Holly? Inside
I did say that out loud. Mayor Dixon.
Yeah, we're still having some pretty good crowds come up to look over the various art displays. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, come on up.
Holly, you're
Mayor Thompson.
You're blushing.
I should be, yes. Go ahead.
Oh my goodness, big exciting thing in Fountain, new King Supers. So we now have a second full service grocery store, and their parking lot is in absolute beautiful shape with no potholes or anything right now. So come on down and drive the parking lot if nothing, and then come on inside. I'd like to give a big shout out to CDOT on the speed change on Mesa Ridge Parkway, but also a warning to the citizens. It is a very long school zone since we have a couple of schools that face there. So it's not 35 miles for just a little distance. It's 35 miles an hour during school for a very long distance. So all the signs are up, watch your speed. It is being enforced. And right now they're getting warnings, but I don't know how long that'll last. But the speed limit in general is down from 55 to 45, even when school. And I'm hoping that will really help the serious crashes that we have in that area. But watch your speed when you come shopping at King Supers, our super store. So, all right.
Commissioner Weissong.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Apologize, I was late. I was at the local emergency planning committee. They deal pretty much with hazmat around the county. A lot of good things that are kind of getting started, but I'll potentially talk more about that. And I'll let hopefully Mayor Mitch talk about the Monument Fire District. And if he doesn't know, I'll fill it in from there. Thank you.
So this weekend, we invite everybody to come up to Cripple Creek. It's the Veterans Rally. And so if you're not planning to go to Cripple Creek, I would suggest that on Saturday you stay off from 24 because it'll be full of motorcycles from about 10 to noon. But come on up if you haven't had a chance to see the Traveling Veterans Wall, which is the same as the Washington, D.C. wall. It'll be up Thursday through Sunday at the high school, and that's 24/7. You can attend or visit that monument if you'd like to. So that's what's going on in Cripple Creek.
Mayor LeKind.
The only news I have on Monument Fire District is that I was a celebrity judge last night where Troop 17 took on Monument Fire Station 1 in a Dutch oven cook-off. And the Boy Scouts won. So we're going to have to do something about the culinary capabilities of the fire district, or they're going to start going hungry. Maybe the Scouts can cook for them. Other than that, we are wrapping up our concert series for the summer. Monopalooza is coming up at the end of the month. It is, I think, 6 or 7 bands that'll be playing all day at Limbach Park for $18. You can get in. And then in September, I'm just bringing this up now because of the scheduling of the meetings, but September 11th at 6 o'clock, we are having a town hall talk of the town, where we are going to talk about all things monumental and Tri-Lakes. The entire council is invited to participate, as well as the citizens of Tri-Lakes.
Okay. And Commissioner Weissong, did you get to participate in that Dutch oven?
No, I wish I would have. No, what I wanted to talk about is two things. They had their remodel and ribbon cutting of Fire Station 2 there on roller coaster. A lot of neat enhancements that they put in. Instead of the overhead doors that go up, it's like bifold doors that can open and close basically in 7 seconds each direction. But the best news is that the Monument Fire District has been certified at the national level. They're the second fire department in the county, the first being Colorado Springs Fire District. Out of 25,000 fire districts in the country, there's only 300 that are certified. And now Monument Fire District can add that to their list of accomplishments.
Awesome. So, Commissioner Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say that our RE School District 1 on the east side of Kenosha Pass and Bailey just did a ribbon cutting for a consolidated elementary school. So all of our schools in that area are all consolidated to one campus. They did a great job and they came under budget. I want to shout out to CDOT. Thank you for paving a stretch of 24 from Round Mountain along that area where the pavement was in extreme distress. Thank you. It is now smooth. And we are gearing up for leaf peeping season. It appears that it is going to be an early one. I've already seen some yellow on trees on Wilkerson Pass. And so I'm just asking everyone to please come up and enjoy, but please be safe because we get thousands and thousands of vehicles and we just want everyone to get home safely. So thank you.
All right. Are there any elected officials online that I've missed? Okay. So at the county, we are doing very well. We're going into budget season and we're looking forward to that. And our El Paso County Fair, or one of our big events, we successfully passed that one. And other than that, it's been a quiet summer, but that will soon change beginning August 28th when we start going into a lot of land use meetings. We do have a new commissioner. Commissioner Lauren Nelson replaced Commissioner Bremer. She's going to serve on the Pikes Peak RTA. And she's settling in, getting all trained, and doing very well. So we've been enjoying that. I think that's all I have, too. So member entity announcements, that would be it. We have our upcoming meeting schedule is published in the agenda. And is there any other business we need to do for the good of the order? All right. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Okay, we've had all of our fun discussions. And so John's going to talk to us about the federal reauthorization workshop on surface transportation.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And again, this is an informal workshop, so feel free to jump in at any time with any comments or questions. I know Andy will probably have to jump in a couple of times, or even Jared, as they were lucky enough to go to the Intermountain West MPO meeting in Utah, I think 3 weeks ago now. And they had a Eric Zimmerman, who is the executive director for the National Association of Regional Councils, or NARC, not to be confused with a law enforcement official. And he gave a presentation on reauthorization and some of the things that are coming to the surface for reauthorization on a statewide level. So again, Jared and Andy, feel free to jump in as we hit certain things. And Danelle, since you've done a boatload of research, feel free to jump in as well. Although you don't have a microphone like everybody else, feel free to go sit next to Andy if you'd like. But with that, I know Rudy's is calling some of you, so this is by no means going to be a very long presentation. So just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that there is what is called the Surface Transportation Bill. And the reason for this slide is you can see this is a taxpayer who buys gas and pays in, and part of the when that taxpayer buys gas, there's a 18.4 cents in the federal gas tax that goes into the Highway Trust Fund. Additionally, that taxpayer is also paying into the federal general fund. That general fund is also making transfers into the Highway Trust Fund. I think it was 2008 was the last time that the Highway Trust Fund was self-contained. From 2008 on, it started getting infusions of general fund money. So we'll actually have a slide later on that we got from our friends of NARC that sort of shows what the difference is between what we're bringing in actual gas tax funds versus what we're spending on transportation. But again, that fund, that trust fund, how it gets distributed is through a Surface Transportation Act, and I've got the names of them on the next slide. That goes through all the distribution process that comes back to the state of Colorado, back to you, the taxpayers. That, again, remember, you're the ones that are putting money into the pot in the first place. This is just how that money comes back to you in the form of projects.
John?
Yes, ma'am.
So you got the person, they're putting the gas in, and you said there's 18.4 cents per gallon. Is that federal that goes to the surface transportation? Because I'm looking at the thing and it's a little confusing.
Yeah. So when you stop and you buy a gallon of gas at the gas station, you're paying 18.4 cents in federal gas tax. You're paying 22 cents, I say, for the state of Colorado.
So the 22 cents is the one that goes to the capital, into the general fund, and back to the circle to the.
Yeah, no, the 22 cents is state. It never makes it to the.
Right. Did I say federal? I didn't mean to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
22 cents goes to the Highway Trust Fund, and of the Highway Trust Fund, 22 cents goes to that picture of the Capitol.
So it's 18.4 cents is the federal gas tax.
That's where I'm confused.
So when you stop and you get a gallon of gas,
18 cents is split two ways.
Yeah. When you
18 cents, 22.
Right.
Yeah, 18 going.
I'm just trying to understand the picture.
So that picture is supposed to be of the Washington, D.C. that you're sending it to D.C.
Thank you.
Not the state capital.
I'm thinking.
Because I think the state capital has a little different, like angel on it or something.
But.
So we were trying to be clever, and apparently we outsmarted. We got too clever. So my apologies for that. But yes, that was the intent of the picture, was that you're sending that money to D.C. So again, no, we're good. No, and again, part of the challenge of my job has always been, people are like, I spend way too much on transportation. And I kind of go, well, how much are you spending, do you think? And they will tell me about their car payment. I'm like, well, that has nothing to do with that. They'll tell me about their insurance. And again, that has nothing to do. So at the end of the day, you're paying to come back to roadways and transit and everything is 18.4 cents in a federal gas tax that goes to DC and then comes back to you in a distribution formula that is set out through the surface transportation bill. And I'm going off on a tangent. Okay.
No, it's a good question. Can I put another? I'm sorry.
I appreciate the explanation, so continue, please.
Okay. And then that same gallon of gas, you're paying 22 cents to the state of Colorado. State of Colorado, they don't have a highway trust fund. They have the highway users. Where did Danelle go? Where'd he go? I can see. I need you right there. Oh, but the state of Colorado is a name a little different, but then you're paying 22 cents to that, and that has to go through the state distribution. Some of it comes back to the cities, towns, and counties, and in fact, the first 60% of it goes through a different distribution formula than the other 40%. So, but in addition to in the state of Colorado, you also have things like your faster fee, your car registration. If you have an electric vehicle, you're paying a $50 more in a registration fee because you're not paying for gas. So there's all of those things that happen through a different circle. So I actually have another slide like this, and we can do it as another presentation at another time, or I can head up to your neck of the woods, Mr. Mayor, and go over the whole state process. But for now, I'm just covering the federal process. And the one thing I really want to hammer home here is it doesn't matter if you're in the urbanized MPO. Yes, if you are in the MPO, you receive more funding because there's more funding buckets you're eligible for. But even if you're not, even if you're in Central Front Range TPR, the federal funding still impacts you because of the way the funding gets distributed and comes back to the state. You just don't get as much say in how that money gets spent. And I've got another slide down the road here. So first off, let me apologize. I thought it'd be done by now. Now all of a sudden I'm way behind schedule. So I had mentioned earlier that Surface Transportation Acts have been around since like 1998. Problem was prior to that, when the monies would come into a state, and it was basically up to the state to divvy it up any way they wanted, you had, and again, I was in Arizona at this time, so you had Phoenix kind of say, oh, well, thanks for the money. We're going to go now spend it in Phoenix, right? And then I think you probably had something very similar here happen in Colorado. Money came to the state of Colorado. Colorado Department of Transportation said, thanks. We're going to now spend it here in Denver. So in 98 was the first sort of bill. There had been previous bills before that, but 98 was the first one that really came back and said, hey, we have these funding formulas and we have these pots of money that we want to make sure get spent everywhere in the state, and that there's more of a cross representation of how the federal monies come back to the states. Because again, if you're a little city, you're paying in, but you might not be getting back out. And this helped address that. So again, the first one was Transportation Equity Act for the 21st Century, or T21. So you may have heard of that before. Then we had Safety Lou. Quick aside, Don Young, the representative from Alaska, wanted to name the bill after his wife Lou. So he made sure that it ended in legacy for users, so it would be Safety Lou. Honestly, that is the only reason we had to add that acronym. After that bill, we had Moving Ahead for Progress in the 21st Century, or MAP 21. We had Fixing America's Surface Transportation, or the FAST Act, and then the last one that we're currently under is IIJA. You can see there's some gaps in the years. During those gaps, we went under continuing resolution. So, and Mayor Dixon, you know, from the FAA, you could definitely go under continuing resolution for years, and we did. You could see there was some pretty large gaps. I think, if I remember correctly, Safety Lou, was it? In that 2 years between 11 and 13, they had like 7 continuing resolutions. And so that also made it difficult because that was the same time we also had, we were coming out of the Great Recession, and we had the fiscal cliff and all those other things and rescissions. And again, normally rescissions would not hit transportation because it's a kill what you eat. But remember, I said we have the money coming in from the general fund. General fund money is subject to rescissions. So transportation, 25 years ago, we wouldn't have to worry about any of these other things. We'd be like, this is what our funds are. This is how we move forward. Bada boom, bada bing. Not so much anymore. Now, because we've got this large infusion of general fund money, rescissions and other federal politics are things that need to be taken into consideration through the bills. The current bill, which is they call it the bipartisan infrastructure legislation, but again, it's basically the IIJA. It had, for federal fiscal year 24, for example, it had $54.6 billion for all the different programs. And I wanted to make sure I showed you here. The ones in yellow are the ones that run through the MPO, the Surface Transportation Block Grant, Metropolitan Planning, which is actually what we use to pay for the transportation services here in PPACG, and that carbon reduction program. There are other things that come into the state that are competitive, like Protect and HSIP. There are other things that the state get and they spend all by themselves, like National Highway Performance Program, which is their ability what they use for building freeways, and they also have some freight funds. So that is, again, why it's important to you all, is because it's not just the stuff in the yellow that we get at the NPO for the urbanized area. It's the other stuff that comes into the state that can be spent anywhere. And again, last time I checked, Central Front Range was part of anywhere. So you guys are eligible for those funds as well. Yeah, so people have made fun of me. They say I'm like the guy with the string and the mad, I just put this together. And again, thanks to Danelle and Josh for taking the mad scribblings on my whiteboard and turning it into a graphic. But I wanted to do this just to run you through why this is important. At the end of the day, it comes back to the monies all come back to you, the taxpayer, and your constituents who are the taxpayers, right? So the money goes into the Highway User Trust Fund, again, through gas tax. Oh, look at that. You are a steely-eyed missile man, sir. All right, so it goes in that. Now, one thing that maybe not a lot of people are aware of, but there is a portion of the gas tax that goes off to the mass transit account. So when you pay for, gas, part of 2.86 cents of what you're paying goes off to the mass transit account. So we are
out of every dollar.
Out of the 18.4. Out of the 18.4, 2.86 is going to that. So when you pump that 18 cents, roughly 3 cents is going to the mass transit account. 15 cents is going into that. So you're supporting a transit. Yeah, she's got the calculator out. All right. So the money goes into the Surface Transportation Act. Currently, it's IIJA, but what they're going to be working on now is going to be something else. Again, Congress sits there and goes through that process. That reauthorization box is there again to show that, well, this one was called IIJA, the next one will be called something else. And it will have different formulas. It will have different ways of getting distributed. And we're going through there. But the bill itself flows through the USDOT for distribution. Part of it to FHWA, which is the ones we deal with the most and we get our consolidated planning grant from. But there's also funds that go through FTA. Let me just take a quick 30 seconds to do the transit because it's pretty simple. When it goes into FTA, there's a direct distribution of some of the funds to the state of Colorado. And so some of you will see that the state of Colorado will have a call for projects that they send out, and it has all the like 5307, 5308, 5309, 5311 kind of things. But there's also a portion that comes straight to the Colorado Springs urbanized area, which is MMT is the designated recipient. And that's a direct distribution. So that's really it for transit. It's kind of, it's simple. And it's basically, the money comes in, it's put into the Federal Register of what amounts they're getting, that they have a year of apportionment plus 3 to get that spent. While that sounds easy, and maybe it is for like operational funds, it is a real pain in the tuchus to get those monies spent for rolling stock, because all of the rules, you have to buy American, you got to do this, you got to do that. So sometimes they can't actually get those buses, purchased with American steel, made in America, all that other stuff within that 3-year timeline. All right, so now we're going to fly over this away. The money that comes into Colorado, there are funds that are taken off the top for congestion mitigation air quality, or CMAQ. Those are for areas that are in non-attainment. Right now, that's North Front Range and Dr. Cog. We have a couple more bad wildfire seasons, or maybe just one more, Andy. We'll probably, we could end up in non-attainment as well, and we would also then qualify for CMAQ funding. National Highway Freight Program and PL, which is, again, the planning funds that operate PPACG. Those sort of come off the top. The remainder of the funds are then broken out into fund types. And these fund types are the National Highway Program, Surface Transportation Block Grant, the Safety Money, Carbon Reduction Program, and the Protect. All of those sort of come in to the state under state control. Then the state, and then I'm going to go into the Surface Transportation Block Grant to give you one more example, and then we're going to get out of the weeds. They have to take 10% off of the top for Transportation Alternatives Program. So some of you are familiar with the Transportation Alternatives Program because you have projects in your jurisdictions that are using that funding pot. So the TAP is sort of, again, a set aside. That's why we say, for example, if the Trump administration decides that transportation alternatives is not something that aligns with their philosophies, it's not necessarily a bad thing that we would lose that money. It would just revert back to its parent, which is Surface Transportation Block Grant. While something else, for example, like Carbon Reduction Program, is not a set aside and it's its own program, if that for some reason doesn't align with philosophies and goes away, it might not necessarily come, a like amount of money may not come back to us. It may, but it may not. So that's, again, something that we have to be aware of moving into reauthorization, that funding pots can change, which is why we always want to spend our money as fast as possible. If you could slide down a little bit, or is that all right? So the state of Colorado, they have 45% that they can spend anywhere within the state. Of those, they have to stay. The monies have to stay in those funding categories, but they can spend it basically anywhere in the state. 55% get divvied up by population into 4 pots of money. Under 5,000, and again, CDOT has control of that. A pot of money, and again, these pots are based on population. So the big urban areas, the 200,000 plus, which is North Front Range, Dr. Cog, and PPACG, that is the biggest bucket, but it also has the biggest amount of people. So you've got the under $500,000 bucket, you have the 5 to 50,000 bucket, the 50 to 200,000 bucket, and that. And again, they have to do all of that well, the under 5,000 they can spend anywhere. Consultation with the transportation planning regions. So again, if you're in Central Front Range, this is likely if CDOT is spending money out of their RPP or something, this is what's going to impact you. And again, I know Commissioner Williams, I think you have part of your district is in Central Front Range, right? And then if it's the 50 to 199, that is your bigger ones like PPACG and Grand Valley. Hi, Eva from Pueblo. I'm glad you're here. That's the bucket that you're in, and that's why the state has to have consultation with you of how they spend it. But that's not necessarily you don't have the same freedom to spend your money as other folks. And then the over 200,000 again. That's Dr. Cog, PPACG, and North Front Range. So again, I just wanted to share this with you. And again, probably not take as much time as I did, but I wanted to make sure everybody understood that the reauthorization and the federal funds are not just for the urbanized area. They get spent everywhere. And having your jurisdiction provide input might be in your best interest moving forward. So with that, yes, ma'am. Yes, I can go back to that one. So that's
And John, before you do that, just can you summarize a little bit for that? The microphone wasn't on, so just for.
Yes, please.
That's a lot of hands touching that money. And we know that every time somebody touches some money, it sticks to their fingers. So out of the 18.4 cents that we're paying at the pump for every gallon of gas, what's the realistic number by the time it gets down to us? We've already seen that 2.86 goes off for mass transit, but
yeah, and so I can kind of answer that question, but probably not as directly as you would like. So I can't give you an actual number, but what I can say is, for example, when funds come in, there is an ability to say, hey, there is a administrative fee. And so you can usually do overhead. And if Carol was here, I think the last overhead was 10%. That is the minimus.
I'm not sure. Maybe another way to answer. We get about $15 million a year in STP, for instance, in that black box that comes back to the region that we allocate through the tip. Is that in the ballpark?
It's a little less than that. I think we get 9 to 10 in actual STBG, the most flexible. And then it's about $1 million, I think, in TAP, and then the rest would be the carbon reduction program money.
Right. And then we get another amount called our consolidated planning grant, which includes metropolitan planning funds in the green box and another fund source, which is what, about $1 million a year?
I get that, but people say we need to increase the gas tax.
Okay.
And if all we're doing is increasing the amount of money that the sticky fingers hold on the way they go down, and we're not increasing the amount of money that's ultimately coming to us, we're just doing nothing but spinning our wheels. Does that make sense?
That's part of it. Sure.
No, that actually makes sense. And there's
yeah. No, I was going to say, back to your initial question about how much 22 cents is going here, 18 cents going there. It's 40 cents combined. Think of it like this. It's 40 cents combined, 18 cents goes to the feds, 22 cents stays here. But it's 40 cents per gallon, regardless of whether gasoline is $1 a gallon like it was 30 years ago or $3.50 like it is today. That hasn't changed. And that's part of the crux of the problem. Yes, the overhead and administrative charges and management of it as well. Yes, that definitely needs to be addressed. But how do we pay for it? I mean, John was about to show the slide of the divide of this is the money that's needed in a new bill, and this is where the revenue's going.
Right. I get it. Do you see what I'm saying? No, I think a lot of people are asking that.
So there's two things here. One is yes, the there's different things that happen, and if you live in the state of Colorado, right, we have some unfunded mandates that get sort of tacked onto what we have to do for the federal process that makes it even more difficult, right? So it just sort of depends on what state you live in, right? And so there's that. But again, to Andy's point, the fact is, again, we have not kept up with inflation as far as roadways are concerned, as far as funding transportation, right? Because again, the amount has stayed flat, and then over time, everything's gotten more expensive, but that same gallon of gas is still giving you the same amount of money. Back from the 90s was the last time the federal gas tax was raised, and the state of Colorado, I believe, was the year after. It's like 92 and 93 or something. It's the last time both of them have been raised. Josh can look that up by the time we're done, but it's been a long time. So at the same time you have those additional costs and those additional sort of, again, unfunded mandates of, well, now you need to do this and you need to do that, making it more difficult. Inflation has really eroded the buying power of that dollar. Bless you. But to get back to the best answer I can give you is, if someone comes in to do a PPRTA, goes in to do a project that's $1 million, and they have PPRTA monies, and they don't have to follow any of the federal rules, they don't need to bring in the state to be to inspect their projects or anything else, to be their project managers or whatever they call it, right? They could get that project done for $1 million. That same project, if you run it through the federal process, the rule of thumb is it's going to cost you 20% more. So that $1 million project becomes $1,200,000. So it's not a perfect way of answering a question, but just know that this whole process of going through and adding all the rules and everything makes you a little less efficient. Is that helpful? Okay.
John?
Commissioner?
Chair Williams, this is, I think, something that could be used as a strong position for PPRTA. That you're going to lose 20% if you wait for the federal government. However, the funds that we raise through PPRTA are going to be all kept basically intact.
Yes, sir. PPRTA is again definitely the way to go. And it pains me to say that, because whenever we have a new employee come in, Rick kind of looks at him and goes, so I run the PPRTA. I bring in about $150 million a year. And there's not a lot of rules for that. And he looks at me and goes, what do you do, John? And then I have to sheepishly say, well, I bring in about 1/10 of that. And there is a whole bunch of rules that come with the federal funds. So PPRTA, again, is sort of the best game in town. That being said, I do my best to compete.
It might be the best game in the state because Rick and Lisa keep their administrative costs low.
Yeah.
They've never even met their 1% administrative fee, to my knowledge. Yeah, they're at 0.5% or something. So,
all right. So my apologies. I saw a squirrel. I went off on a tangent. Let me get back to, again, my 5-minute presentation. That's now somewhere around 15. So again, this slide, we referred to it earlier, is again, what money is getting derived out of people paying for gasoline at the pump nationwide is in the blue. Those general fund infusions are in green. So if we're going to keep up with this level of spending, again, and it's not an absurd level of spending, because you can go out today and you can see congestion and you can see roads falling apart. So it's not like, oh, well, we've spent so much money, we have now this gold system. We've spent a lot of money, and in my humble opinion, we're just barely sort of keeping up. It's not like we're getting the Rolls Royce of transportation systems. And even with the transportation system that we have, which is, again, lacking in certain areas and maintenance and capacity, to do that, we still need these general fund infusions. And to continue that, the sort of merely sort of getting by, again, it's about $187 billion over, I believe, 5 years. Andy, am I quoting the slide correctly?
Yeah, actually, we rounded up to about $200 billion is what's needed, general fund infusions from the federal budget to keep the Highway Trust Fund solvent, basically, over the next 5 years.
So, and that's why, real quickly, when we get to the final slide, and I kind of talk about what we're going to be advocating for, it's easy to say we just need more money, and we will, but we're also going to ask for more efficiencies, where again, maybe you let some things go directly to the big jurisdictions that have a lot of staff, or to the NPOs that are more equipped to handle this. And by not running it through the state, again, back to Mayor Thompson's thing, you don't have those extra little fingers on them that again sort of may not necessarily add efficiency to the process, right? So that will be part of it, of what we were doing, is because again, money's going to be an issue. So we want to be more efficient with the monies that we do have. And I believe the next slide just says questions. So this is the last slide. And again, these are the planning principles that come from the National Association of Regional Councils, or NARC. These are the sort of the 4 things that they're advocating for. And if you download their form letter, they're sort of already queued up for you. And then we as staff, Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, this is probably the main thrust of what we're going to have in our letter. But again, transportation planning, making that a top priority. And again, that might sound self-serving because again, PL is the funds that pay for PPACG here. However, again, that's we have been sort of stuck at the same level of funding, yet there's more and more things for us to do. And we keep coming back to you guys and saying, as our board saying, hey, we're required to do this, this, and this. And we have these some unfunded mandates, mostly state, but sometimes they're federal, right? And we need help. So we would like to see an increase in funding. Also reduce/eliminate local share. And what that means is when you guys pay your dues to PPACG, part of that comes to transportation as match for our dues. What this is asking for is that they reduce that because again, they're saying these are things you have to do. And then you'd be like, well, great, we'll do them. And they're like, yeah, but we're only going to pay for 80% of it, basically. So you guys have been splitting the share. So we're going to try to, again, stress that reducing the match requirement out of the planning funds be reduced. So not only are we asking for more money, we're asking it to be less of a burden on you as our jurisdictions. Non-metropolitan transportation planning. So again, we realize that we're not only are we the NPO, but we have Central Front Range. So we'd like to make sure that there is more dedicated funding for the non-metropolitan planning to make sure our friends in Park and Teller County can plan an efficient network without having to always necessarily rely on CDOT. Third point, surface transportation block grant, or the STBGP, which is the one we did the little fancy flow chart for. Again, ask for increased funding. And what says increased local share, remember I pointed out the 45-55? Again, maybe instead of being 45 for CDOT to spend anywhere, that's 40. And at 60%, that again comes back to us where, for lack of a better pun, the rubber meets the road, right? And then the fourth one is discretionary spending programs. Again, there is formula programs that we sort of went through the process with. But on top of that is discretionary programs like, are we calling it Tiger now or is it Build? It's Build, Raise, Tiger. There's just these discretionary grant programs. And the point is, again, who's better to sort of decide what is the best way to spend money here in our region? Is it us or is it asking someone in DC to pick amongst a whole bunch of different programs. So again, we're going to ask for them to sort of move back on those discretionary programs and give us more money in formula programs. So again, we can make sure it's there. One thing that we will add in addition to what the NPO, what NARC is asking for is, let's see if I can get this concept done in three minutes. Back when we had, I believe, MAP 21, 2009, these slow-growing Rust Belt states saw the writing on the wall and they said, hey, I don't think we want to use these distribution formulas that are based on population and lane miles anymore because the Western states are catching up and we're going to receive less. So basically, in that MAP Act, they said, in 2010, the individual jurisdiction, the individual states will receive what you received in 2009 as a ratio of the total pot. So if the pot grew 10%, you got 10% more of your money, but you didn't gain on someone who was making more money than you. That basically meant, because it was 2009, it locked back to the year 2000 census. So when the feds look at the state of Colorado, they don't see a 2025 Colorado that has built its own roads using PPRTA dollars. They don't see the population where it's at in 2025 that's growing in El Paso County. What they see is where Colorado was in the year 2000. And your funding levels have been stuck at that ever since. Remember back to that mad scientist flowchart I had, right? That's how it gets divvied up. But the money that goes in from the top, that's about $200 million less than it would have been if we had stayed with the funding formulas. So Colorado, we were a little over 200 million. Arizona is a little under 200 million. So the Western states are getting the short end of the stick.
Yeah, CDOT did the calculation. It was like $209 million we as a state are losing out on because that formula has never been updated. You think about that, that's serious money. So we're asking all of our Intermountain West states to do the math. Arizona was just under $200 million a year. So we've all kind of decided, our counterparts in Phoenix and Salt Lake City and elsewhere, let's do the math, let's see what it is, and really emphasize that it's malfeasance if we don't try to fix that. We've been trying to fix it for a couple of years. It's a really hard thing to fix. There is a bill that's out there now. It's House Resolution 3030. We're trying to get Representative Jeff Hurd to be a co-sponsor of that bill because he's on the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. So we'll work up some talking points and share it out with everybody because we need to beat that message and get it out to our delegation members and try to finally get this thing fixed.
Yep. So our letter, it will be these four plus the Western state, fast-growing Western state equity question. Maybe there's a better way of saying it, but that's basically it. So we'll have those 5 points in our letter. So sort of wrapping up, there is the current Department of Transportation has a request for information that's out there. The deadline is a week from today. It'll be the 20th. And so we're gonna write our letter. We'll submit to the docket within that. But again, what was the point of all of this? Other than hearing me jibber jabber for about 30 minutes, is again, there's the opportunity for your individual jurisdictions to again weigh into the process and submit your own letters or requests for information into the process if you so choose. So I have gone online. There is a League of Cities and National Counties Incorporated. They have their own sort of like letters, but you can decide for yourself. And again, if I'm Colorado Springs, there's no one from Colorado Springs here, but I would add a bullet point asking for more money for transit because they're a heavy transit user, right? And that would make sense for them. So as individual jurisdictions, you will have things that you'll want to advocate for more because they make sense to you, and others things that are less. So as the region, we're kind of we're trying to take a balanced approach that we think things that are basically good for everybody, but you can tailor your letter or your input based on what makes sense for you guys. And again, El Paso County is big, so you'll probably ask for some more direct stuff, while Green Mountain Falls, you might, just ask for more money and more of the rural planning. But anyway.
Can I add two things real quick? And Jared, if you can go back to the previous slide real quick. One of the reasons we want to emphasize, number one, transportation planning, PL funding that does flow back to the MPOs, and we're an MPO. There's sort of the underlying messaging here, as well as there's tension between state DOTs wanting to take more control over the planning process and project selection process versus MPOs and what we do around our table. So we're really going to emphasize the value of what we provide as far as the MPO planning function here, because there'll be other organizations like the American Association of State Highway Officials, AASHTO, wanting to pull things in the other direction and say, let's not provide as much support to MPOs. Locals don't need to decide local projects. We'll decide them at the state level and you'll get what we decide. That's a real concern. So that's one of the reasons we're going to advocate for more support for MPO planning functions. And with that does require additional funding as well. So just wanted to mention that nuance as well. The second thing, just wanted to mention, and John kind of alluded to all the different bills that have been passed over the past 20 years, and a lot of them have operated under continuing resolutions. This one, I think a lot of people think, oh yeah, this bill that we're currently under expires in October 1 of 2026. So it's another, 14 months away. We got plenty of time, and it's going to be continuing resolutions for a year or a couple of years after that. So why the rush? The rush is that the smart thinking is that if this administration, if this president wants to make this happen, and infrastructure is a priority of his, didn't get done in the first term, but in term 2.0, if he really wants to make this happen and do it with the Congress that would be more favorable that is currently in place between now and the end of 2026, it's going to get done by the end of 2026. So let's not assume we got a lot of time. There's actually a lot of thought that it's going to get moving sooner rather than later. It's a little bit unusual for US DOT and the administration to come forward with a bill. Usually it's the House has a bill, the Senate has a bill, and they reconcile it. In this process, the administration is going to come forward with a reauthorization bill, and suspect that that's what's going to be pushed. So we need to engage and express our needs, whether it's with Representative Hurd or our federal delegation writ large. But yeah, we need to actually actively engage on this sooner rather than later.
I have two comments. So I was looking up, did an internet search. There's an organization called the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy, ITEP.org, and they say that, we haven't, some states have a variable tax rate. So Utah has actually raised its gas tax within the last year. And some of them, like Alaska, hasn't raised it for 30 years. It's really fascinating to look at. But I'm curious as far as an equity issue when we've got three states, because, transportation equity is an issue in transportation. When you've got three states, Utah, Arizona, and Colorado, who are not getting the same amount of funding as all of the other states, have the attorney generals gotten together and thought about doing a lawsuit on that bill? And I'm sure that they, no one, it's not high on their agenda list, but it really is.
It's a great question, and we can pose it to some of the other MPOs. What we've kind of found is that nobody's really been pushing this, but these MPOs that John talked about, the Intermountain West group, it includes Nevada as well, and Idaho, and some other states. The MPOs are the ones that have been kind of raising the alarm about this. State DOTs have been kind of sitting on their hands and not pushing it either. So I don't know. So I'm glad it's finally starting to kind of break through, and there is a House bill that's out there. But attorney generals, we'll dig into that and see.
And I don't want to say it's a well-kept secret, but it's one of those things that's like, okay, well, all of those states now have more representation and more votes in Congress than they did, right? So if you just sort of say, hey, those guys that used to beat us up back in high school, well, now we're out of high school, we've gone to college, we're a little bigger and a little beefier than we were then, and so we could probably now do that. But so that's the other sort of solution. But again, at the end of the day, it's getting it on the radar, and a lot of folks are like, that's not something that's not a thing I want to pick up or anything else. It's got to get really, for lack of a better term, more egregious for people to sort of get more exercised about it. But that's sort of what we've been doing, is sort of poking now for a few years, and we're getting more and more people a little more upset about it.
$200 million a year is pretty egregious, we think. And Nevada's doing the math because of this meeting we had a couple of weeks ago that Jared and I went to. Nevada, this got the attention of Las Vegas and Reno, so they're sharpening their pencils. All the other states that are part of this network, and we're going to expand the aperture as well and start bringing in other states. Like Texas is actually, they have a sponsor on that bill already, but Florida, South Carolina, other relatively fast-growing states over the past 20, 25 years all have a stake in this. So yeah, it's time to get aggressive with it.
Well, and you kind of look at the whole census issue right now as to whether or not the census should count people or citizens, or people or citizens and legal immigrants. And so you see a lot of different attention coming into the way we count things. So, yeah, I can see that there's maybe some good room to make some pushing on this right now.
Question.
Yes, sir.
I think one of the things that we need to also focus on, just like we're able to get almost 99.5% utilization out of PPRCTA funds, use that as an example of why it's better to try to bring them locally. Control, maybe not 100% of those funds, but a good chunk, because we can be much more efficient. But when we build an argument against federal government, whatever it is, in some cases, maybe even the state, we've got to have a pretty good solution. It may not be utilized because it's not invented there, but if we can try to put some kind of a, solution that says, do this, do that, and here's why. And one thing I haven't really heard is that because of that formula, it's 25 years old, out of that 18.4 cents that goes up to Washington and comes back down, what are we really seeing in Colorado? Because we're not seeing, our fair share. So making them truly aware of what we should be getting in a solution, why we should be getting it. And I think this administration would be very cognizant in wanting to act if you've got a good solution that eliminates a lot of that sticky fingers.
Yes, and that's a great point, because one thing we didn't mention is one thing that I think that this administration will like to see is the fact that it's not that we're just not asking them for more money. And again, where does the more money come from? But other folks, again, sort of donors thing, but that we have done self-help. We have PPRTA, so we will make sure that we stress in there. There are regions that are not only taxing themselves to put things in place that need to be here. The fact is, the matter is that we're not only are we doing that, but we're doing that at the same time that we're going through all of these other rules. So that's a great point, and I think we can make sure that we sort of stress that we are helping ourselves here and not just depending on the feds to sort of hand us everything. I see Commissioner Mitchell, you turned on your camera. Do you have a question?
I have a comment, if I may. I just wanted to bring this back down to Park County, where we apply for grants. We don't get grants. It is impossible to get any help to fund our county roads. Our HUTF is $6.1 million a year, $5,000 a mile. We need direct source funding. We've got a plan. We know what roads, we do have ADT counts. We do all this. And I think with a good county plan, especially a county that's maybe under 50,000 in population, we should be able to just get the money directly and take care of our roads. And we need funding that incorporates all of the summertime and wintertime recreational visitors that we have that bury us alive. So I think that government's best local. And so we need to figure out how to convince them that with some responsible guardrails that we can put up upon ourselves, we should be able to get the direct funding and take care of our own backyard. Thanks.
Yep. Anything else? And again, I was like, this will be a piece of cake. I'll be done in 10 minutes. And here we are a half hour later. I apologize if Rudy's got a little cold on you, but are there any other questions? And again, sometimes I do see a squirrel and I go off on a tangent. So my apologies for that. But no, I know. Yeah, it's like, yeah, but I believe I'm that little guy on the top of the chart with the frowny face. No. Yep. And again, there's again, if you do decide as an individual jurisdiction or even as an individual person that you want to submit comments, there is the website or the and then the actual email. There's an email address there and then a website. And then that is the docket by which things are going under. So we've got that information. Think we can send that along.
And you'll send that out to the board.
And then if you yeah. And then can you free this up just after questions, just so you know what we'll send you is this presentation. There we go. This is all of I don't make any of this stuff up. I grab the actual law and I break it down. So if you were wondering what the slides are after the fact, that's just in case anybody had a question that's so deep in the weeds. I had to go to the actual legislation for you. So that's what's all in there in case anybody is interested. That's why those slides are included. But all the stuff you're going to need is in the first 7 slides. And that 7th slide has the email address.
Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Yeah, thank you.
This was well worth it.
Not like that last workshop I put on.
And there's Johnny.
Oh, and as you're leaving, the gas tax was last raised in the state of Colorado, 1991. Now remember when I say there's the 18 and the 22, that's not adding the 8 cents that SB 260 added in 2021. So because it's not a tax, it's a fee.
And the question is if they raised the tax in Colorado, would it actually go to gas or would it go to the roads? Probably not. Oh,
it depends on how it's written and what constitutional protections are in place.
Andy, I'm using the mic just because you can hear me better.